Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, Paranormal Portal Podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together. Hey everybody, what's up? Can everybody hear me? 5-5? 5x5? Everybody out there? Hey everybody! Gatekeepers, look at everybody in here talking already and saying hello to each other. Such a lovely thing to see the chat get together. I see Donny is in there already. He's pulling double duties in the chat, and he's going to be live tonight. Not easy to do. I've got all kind of pixel stuff, so I'm going to be working on that throughout the show. But I see Ann and AJ. Bobby, welcome in, welcome in. So gatekeepers, welcome in all the new listeners. And just thanks for being here. And I can't believe we're still doing this case, but my gosh, what a deep case, you know. Trying to give it every chance to breathe. You know what I mean? That we can. Sasha Bell, welcome in, sweetheart. How you doing? So here we go. I'll tell you what. Take a second. Everybody that's here, jump out if you haven't hit the like and hit that thumbs up because it does help with the algorithms. Pam Smith, welcome in. And thank you for everybody who comments after the fact. To go back and comment back on the show something you liked about it, something you didn't like about it, something, you know, I said that pissed you off, and something that you didn't agree with. That's all fine. We love that interaction, you know. This case is, you know, I think everybody kind of falls between, you know, one side or the other, and it's kind of hard to find people that are really in the middle and wishy-washy about it. And then you have people that never heard of it, hearing it for the first time, and wondering why we're still talking about it. And the fact is, it's still going on. The man is still in jail, still says he's innocent, and is an innocent man. Been in jail. It's happened before, multiple times. Hate to say it, but it's hard. You can't even think about it. You know, somebody being in jail for something you didn't do. You know, like the man in the iron mask, or in Count of Monte Cristo. Was it Cristo? Anyway. Welcome in, welcome in. Let's get my co-host for the evening in here, Mr. Donny Cho. Hello. Welcome in, sweetie.
Hi.
So here we are back again, still talking about the MacDonald case, Donny. How you been? How you been? And can you believe we're still finishing up on this crazy case, man? You know?
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to seeing some of the video that you've compiled, because it's been some compelling stuff.
I know, and it's just so it has a little bit for everybody as far as, and you know, it's terrible to say about any crime, and please don't, you know, for new listeners and stuff like that, that's not what we're doing here. We're not trying to exploit them. In fact, we've gone out of our way to try not to exploit the victims, but actually sit there and try to listen to what they're trying to tell us. Listen to their side of it, because quite frankly, we have people in here that started reading a book about 3 weeks ago, first time, or another time around. We've had people watch the mini series and go in and watch documentaries and things that I can't play here due to copyright. You know, interviews and things, and a new yes, Patton, we love you. Can anybody hear that? I still love that so much. Anyhow, for those who don't know, that's the little trumpet call there from Patton. It kind of reminds me to just, you know. So anyway, uh, this case, man, it's still going on. But like I said, it has a little something for everybody, and I don't mean to sound that in a flippant way. I mean, if you're into psychological uh, breakdown of character and what causes a person to do something or not do something, what, you know, each person involved in here, I think, has a little bit to dig on that, whether it's the guy who works in the lab that just stays on it and gets all this evidence. He's the one that's got the evidence with the shirt and the blood evidence, and him and his team, and they had their stuff together, and there was people on the outside, of course, that either willingly or unwillingly effed this whole thing up from word get. We have to admit that. And I don't think it started with the dispatcher who answered the call that had a hard time understanding Jeff, because he's saying they've been stabbed or they're being stabbed. He was very broke up. You can listen to the actual phone call if you dig into some of these sites that actually have evidence and stick to the evidence and stick to what was proven in, you know, court of law and in the lab and everything else, you know, undisputed stuff. Then you've got these fringe that add their own stuff in, and you better believe that I add my own opinion in. I admit that up front. This is, you know, I'm like passionate about this because I feel like the victims have almost been forgotten in here. I feel like Freddie is a hero, and you feel the same, don't you, Donnie? Don't you think he really rose to this occasion? And no schlep was Freddie. Freddie was he was a paratrooper in the Army. He had given this nickname that meant, what was it, bulldozer? I can't remember,
I
something
don't
like
remember
that,
his
wasn't it?
nickname.
But anyway, I've listened to so many documentaries, the little snippets of things you pick up, you know.
Hmm.
So if you're asking me my source on that, it's one of the 70 documentaries I've watched over the past, I don't know, month and a half, 2 months on this thing. So anyhow, trust me on that, you know, Freddie, again, is a goldmine of information on this, because he got paranoid, trusts nobody, and rightfully so. Started recording every phone call he got, so not just he and Jeff, but if a congressman answered him back, which was rare, I mean, you know, you put out 100 letters, maybe two would answer you, you know, maybe 5 or 6, but they would always be those, you know, printed stock kind of answers where, you know, you're not really getting anything. Like, the congressman is busy doing, you know, working on your your tax dollars, and that kind of stamped kind of shit, you know, postcard, not the handwritten or the actual phone call back that says, you know, you're concerned about this. Freddie pounded pavement. He hand delivered his letter of grievance of a crime committed. And I mean, it's just, it's hard to wrap your mind around what this man did and what it must have been like. His poor wife, Mildred, correct?
Yeah, Mildred.
Baked her little ass off the whole time. She just meditated and went into Betty Crocker mode, full tilt boogie, and this woman just baked and fed people because that was the way she survived, and she just backed up Freddie. And you'll see that in one of the clips that we have tonight, where he was just, I don't want to drag her through another court case, another waiting, another living hell. For what, Dottie? Almost 15, 16 years of the crime? How long after the crime was the actual criminal case where he was sentenced?
About
that
9
cat's
years.
out of the bag. He's in jail.
9 years. But then there were all
Okay.
those appeals that took place afterwards. So
Right,
even
and I was
after, yeah,
maybe that's what I'm thinking, that it was longer than that. But so anyway, it says it here. As far as the facts were known, as the time of this miniseries that was made. Now, I have, and Donnie has, and I don't think Dylan has. He keeps telling me no, he's not looking into it. He's just what we're doing, and he couldn't be with us tonight. Oh, and happy Father's Day, everybody! I totally forgot. But I'm not a dad and I don't have one, so I'm just kind of out of it. I apologize. I was all over Mother's Day though. I apologize, dads, because you dads are just spectacular. You know, anybody can father a child. It takes a dad to be spectacular. So happy Dad's Day. Because I know if you're listening to this, you've got at least a open mind and an open heart, and you're probably a little bit cooler than some of the others. So happy Dad's Day. So, anyhow, Donnie, this case. So now we have gone through the military hearing. Okay, the Article 32.
mm-hmm.
And you want to briefly touch base on that? Do you happen to have that information in front of you, just to remind people where we are? And welcome, everybody. I'm seeing a lot of new names in here. Welcome. And just any questions, Gatekeepers got you. I promise you, you are in good hands. This is one of the best chats you will ever see on YouTube. I've heard that a lot. It's truly so in this case, because you come in here and one way, and I think you leave feeling a little better, don't you, Donnie?
Yeah, always.
And you know, the people, the energy, the it just flows in here. So get you some of that. And even though we are having, sorry, I keep hitting the mic, I apologize. Even though we're talking about a dark subject, what we're kind of focusing on is going at it from a 40,000 foot view, but also with our senses and our intuition. We know we're watching a miniseries with actors portraying these things, but again, Donnie and I have researched on this, and if they come up and they say something that we have found out since to be untrue, we would tell you. I apologize, but we would tell you. You know, this isn't really very sensationalized at all. This is actually how this guy acted. This is how the people, especially watching the Blue, you had to find that fascinating, watching Freddie do a 180, and just that whole look, and trying to convince himself back and forth and playing these 3D chess in his mind, and then slowly showing that, you know, outwardly on a physical level, on a kinetic level, you know. It's absolutely amazing. So Freddie is still deep in the fight.
Mm-hmm.
Mildred is baking something, and I'm sure it's delicious. Freddie is fueled on her love and her baking.
So I'll just get people caught up real quick.
Go ahead, baby.
So the Article 32 military hearing gets dismissed in October of 1970 by Colonel Rock. Dismissed, right? Not acquitted, dismissed. And then in December of that year, Jeffrey gets a dishonorable discharge. He goes to spend some time in New York. And then, according to him, he says, "Oh, the memories are too difficult." So he moves to sunny Southern California, Long Beach, I believe, where he gets like a $350,000 condo. He gets a job there immediately as an emergency room physician. He becomes an instructor at the UCLA Medical School and the medical director of the Long Beach Grand Prix. Okay. But the crazy part is he actually winds up getting like another gig as a lecturer teaching other doctors how to spot signs of child abuse. That's pretty sick. And I think one of the reasons why he got that position in the first place was because, you know, a lot of people, by this point, his fame and notoriety kind of grew. The story became well known, and I think a lot of people tried to express sympathy for him. So when they have the guy who lost his family giving a lecture to other doctors about
Absolutely
child
Yeah.
abuse. I mean,
It
that's
was sick the way the people surrounded him, but see, here's the deal. He was a good doctor. He would go up and do extra for police, and then say, anytime somebody's wounded, you make sure I'm called, no matter time of day. I want to be here, and put them back together, and he would play on that. Now listen, I could be wrong. He could have been genuinely connected. There's some kind of a break in there somewhere, in my humble opinion, that made it all okay. It made complete sense. It's almost like it's almost like being an autist, to the point of, you're just on. I mean, there's a show, I forget, it's got a young actor, and he's fabulous, and he's I think a young doctor, and when something happens, he just stops and thinks, and they show you all the different numbers and the gear, and all the stuff like written in the air, like energy almost, and you could just see their wheels turning, and they're just on, they're full tilt boogie on. This guy is like that, but it's just this, he's got this methodical, you don't even see the change or anything in his face. This actor did a great job. If you go back and watch, if you're interested in that kind of thing, go back and watch the interviews of Jeffrey MacDonald and watch his voice. The Dick Cavett thing was nothing compared to some of these others he's did with, Look Magazine or Look TV or 60 Minutes or whatever. You've seen him, Donnie. How many? Countless, right?
yeah.
The way he's speaking, he's either pathological. I think it's multiple things, not multiple personalities, but if you ever watched, think about this, and I'll shut up and we'll watch the video. There's a movie. This is why I understand this in a certain way. And being Father's Day, this is extremely apropos. Okay, it's also extremely personal, but how are you going to learn from stuff if somebody who doesn't make it through tells you about it? And this is how what it did to me, right? So the last time I saw my father, I was 3. The last time I heard his voice, I was 13. The day I buried my mother, coming back from the funeral, I pick up the phone. Hello, this is I'll never forget it. This is your dad. I said, methodical. Shut down, complete shock. I don't have a father. And he said, well, this is your dad. And at 13, I knew damn good and well he was really neither, at that point in my life. Now, that's changed since then, even though he died when I was 18, because I had kind of this supernatural experience with his energy and his whole thing, and I've told that story here before. So it's a good Father's Day story of learning and not hating and blocking everything with hate, because I figured at one point in time you get to this point where you realize we chose that for whatever reason, glean from it what you can learn and move on, right? Well, the reason I understand a little bit about Jeffrey is my dad was like this. It was, you wonder how in the world can you just keep doing and leaving all this stuff in your wake. Like Jeffrey says, I had 30, 40, chicks. It was nothing, and he's fighting with Freddie about, yes, my wife was in the hospital and I was cheating on her, or I had a different, chick in the hotel room or something. He said, Donnie, during the hearing or one of the depositions or something. It was a big deal. That was happening around him, and the press was writing about it. Blue is saying, here, can you read that, Donnie?
Yeah, he said he's disassociative. A lot of psychopaths are.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. Yes, that's it. And and totally. So this is it with my dad and Jeff. It's like the next thing. It's just the next thing. and they can't look back. They can't look back at the wake of the pain and the destruction and the emotion and everything else they leave behind. It's the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a movie that's great, and it's got a star in it at this point in time. I haven't heard anything he said that has ruined him for me, so I avoid him I avoid social media. I avoid, because I don't want, if anybody knows anything bad about this guy or anything he's, I don't want to know it. But it's Tommy Lee Jones, and I dearly love him. So anyway, Tommy Lee Jones is in a movie called The Missing, and he plays an absent father who has to get connected with an adult daughter who's pissed off as hell at him, rightfully so, chip on her shoulder, but she needs him, and he reluctantly helps because it's a granddaughter got kidnapped kind of thing. Great movie. But in there, Tommy Lee Jones really isn't a psychopath. He's more like a quiet dreamer that does the same thing, can't look behind him. Next thing, it's just the next thing, and just left families and wakes and responsibilities, all of this behind. Jeffrey's like this. My dad was one of the best gambler, great friend, army, hardcore, sports, blew sports away in high school, and the chicks and artists and all this other stuff. But an achiever. Who does that sound like, Donnie? Overachiever, blew everything out of the water, Green Beret.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like this guy, Jeffrey.
And extremely violent at the drop of a hat, and you couldn't really always place what exactly did it. Mm-hmm. And with Jeffrey, you add amphetamines. It's pretty much a done deal on that evidence. He was on it. He admitted he was taking them. Other people said he was taking them. Large amounts of them. Lots of people around him was. But he also had that camaraderie that everybody worked with. Everybody believed in him. They're throwing him parties. We believe in you. Raising money, fundraisers, tickets. They were selling tickets, dinner with Jeff. They were going to rent the Queen Mary for his celebration party. He's always trying to get money in for every, so just think about that. This guy looks very familiar to me. So there we go. You want to watch the first video, or do you want to say something, Donnie? I'll shut up. Go ahead.
No, I'm good to go. I'm ready to watch.
Do you have something now? We're going to talk about a little bit about Jeff and his actions. Mm-hmm. And did you want to preamble that, or you want to just play this part? We'll stop and then talk about it. That sound good?
Yeah, we could stop in the middle and talk about it.
Cool. All right, that's what we'll do then. Okay, guys. From Fatal Vision. The entire thing is available multiple places on YouTube for free. It's a mini-series. It's about 4 hours long. We are on the tail end of it. And isn't that kind of nice to hear? It's like, get rid of this. Let's do something happy. Like, I don't know, the Lincoln assassination or something cheery like that. I'm joking. I'm just trying to make you laugh. Don't make a meme out of me. Here we go.
Dear Joe, I'm beginning to put my life back together. My work at the hospital and a relationship with the most sensual woman I've ever seen. She works for one of the yacht dealers in the area. The first time I saw her, she looked very prim and proper. Had her hair up, and there was no real hint except in her eyes of this incredible beauty and tremendous sensuality. Walking into the showroom, she stared at me and I stared at her. Our fates were sealed from that moment. Two sort of passionate people, neither of which has had a very smooth life. And when we're alone, making love takes up a large proportion of our time. Watch it. Next weekend. Thought we'd go down to San Diego. Be taking a medical conference, some recreation on the side.
Sounds great.
An old Green Beret friend of mine, he's going to be at the conference.
How long were you in the Green Berets, Jeff?
Oh, not too long. About a year.
Did you do any of that John Wayne stuff?
Do it. I'm a doctor. I'm a healer. That's what I chose to be.
What was she like?
Who?
Colette.
I loved her very much.
Can't imagine it. It must have been such a horrible thing. All that you've gone through these
Yeah.
last... Jeff, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
Look, I want you to know, I think you're a wonderful person and a wonderful doctor, and if there's anything I can possibly do...
Just being here, just being near me, just understanding.
I do. If I could help you forget...
But I'll never forget. Never.
It's the Justice Department.
I gotta say that part it just makes my whole stomach just flip. I mean, I'm sure you guys too. Hey, Cassie, I love you, darling. Welcome in, welcome in. So, what do you think, Don?
Yeah, I wrote down earlier. He reminds me of Christian Bale from American Psycho. Like,
Yeah,
this guy's
yeah.
like a bona fide sociopath.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like I got I have no problem
Yeah.
standing right there with you. I mean, it's just my stomach. And when you watch him in real life too, I mean, it's even worse. But this young actor Gary Cole, he came out of nowhere, and he's doing a great job of it. He's really got the facial stuff. It's hard to watch, it really is. But let's continue. Why not? We're this far.
What?
They don't give a hoot in hell about justice. Is it too much to ask after 2 years and 10 months of reinvestigation to want the case to go forward? Well, it's going forward, by God. If I have to twist the arm of every congressman in Washington. Yeah.
Where are you going, Freddie?
I'm going to start twisting.
Just want to stop it there. I guess that's a great shot of his butt there. But anyhow, this is what this guy is doing. What you heard when he was buying the yacht, okay, with the money that he was getting from... Now, think he's paid his lawyers. And dude was not cheap. He was a high-priced lawyer, him and his team. And he's still got enough to buy a yacht. He's got this condo on the beach, as you see here. And how many years after this? It's less than a year and a half, isn't it?
So when Freddie goes to file a citizen's complaint with the U.S. Chief District Court, this took place. That would take place about 4 years later.
Yeah.
Because from like 1972 to 1974, the case was like in legal limbo with like the Department of Justice. And then finally they bring the case, the complaint to the Chief District Court. And that was in April of 1974.
There you go. So this is how he's acting. And the letter believe it or not, people still wrote letters back then, especially if you're in the military. It's something that they kind of push at you, write letters home, write letters, and they still did. So a lot of people still had that back and forth. And they're reading from letters that he wrote. And it's all, how he's all into these different women. he just lost two little girls and his wife. I mean, I could see going off and quietly, trying to get, going to be in a lumberjack in Canada someplace, or getting a cabin in the mountains, or a cave somewhere. Or, I mean, I don't know. People all grieve differently. But compounded together, his actions are just, I don't know. What do you think, Donnie?
He kind of reminds me of a lot of people I've met actually in
Yeah,
my
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Just like
I
straight
agree.
up, like no empathy having,
Yep, I agree, Blue.
you
Yep.
know.
And you too,
Um,
Glenn. Yep. I remember that. Creepy Sheriff American Gothic. Yeah, he sure did. But this was before that. This was, and gosh, I can't, you know what? I can't remember. It was something else he was in before this, for sure. But I just can't remember right now. But yeah, he's doing a great job. So let's see what's going on now. Now it's Freddie is really kicking in. He's finding out about all the women while Colette was in the hospital having both pregnancies she had were high risk pregnancies. She did not have it easy, and this is a time 70s. You go to the hospital, the guy paces in the hallway. You know what I mean? I think when I was born, they were still showing the baby in the window with the nurses and the little white hats and stuff. True that. I mean, all babies in the you'd go up in the maternity ward and they'd all be in there. Some hospitals, I guess, still have that, but not as strict as it was then. Guys really didn't go in the rooms. They still wore their suits, and like I said, they saw their kids through the window. Certainly not like today.
yeah.
We've come a long way with that, but I don't know. It just it's creepy dude, and he wasn't there. And days before this happened, this whole horror show happened, they were talking about him going to Russia, was it not? With the team, whatever team it was, and she was all proud, I'm behind you 100%. And she said, even though the baby's coming, now she's going to have a third baby, another high-risk pregnancy, and he's thinking about leaving, and she's like backing him 100%. Now, hey, Linda, in the book, have you gotten through where you think that, did I hear you right last episode, that she may have been having an affair on Jeffrey? Now, look, at this point, I wouldn't blame her, because he was never there, and he was doing it to her, and she knew he was, they were constantly fighting about it. And she said something about 17 he was with to her mother. I mean, this is like out of control here,
and now that he's in like sunny California, he's going wild.
Oh,
He's
God,
enjoying he's enjoying
Yeah.
the high life.
Nurses were bragging about banging him in the linen closet and stuff. This was just debauchery from one end to the other. I mean, it's just so, that's what I'm saying. It's just, the whole thing was like that. So you kind of have to peel back away from all of that stuff. It's a given. All that stuff is a given. This is what they were doing. I can't say that it's a motive, because that's the big thing in this case. What was the motive? Why would he just off and kill them? I don't think there was one.
Oh, did you see what Linda said?
Yeah, no, what is she saying? I'm sorry. Let's see. As a doctor, he could have been with
Her.
But the daughter isn't his. Oh, okay. All right. So inside information from Linda.
Well, she's going off the blood type because she's.
Yeah.
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 Because if
Oh,
your parents
wow.
are A and B,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
daughter's
yeah.
O.
Oh, yeah. Phew. See, I'm telling you, we have got sleuths inside the chat. You never know who they are. They're there. We've got people that with many, many years on multiple different past, lives where they were in law enforcement, military, paranormal investigators of all kinds, and just stay at home, fantastic, sharp, crisp minds that are into all this and have open enough to look at all of it. But you know a three-headed dragon when you see one, right, Donnie?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just, quite honestly, like I said to the last one, I'm shocked it's still 50 years and we're going, and I'm like, I don't know. Show me something I could be wrong. So we're still looking. Here we go. You ready, Donnie?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, here we go.
Freddie? Yeah, I want to know one thing. What is it you want? I mean, are you trying to crucify me?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll tell you for one thing what I'm talking about. A certain Long Island Register article under the headline saying, "Parents live to see a killer caught."
You're absolutely right. We think of nothing else, nothing.
Is that why you made up lies about me having sexual relations with someone during the Article 32 hearing?
They're not lies. I believe them.
Why? Because the CID told you it was true?
Absolutely.
Is that what you're telling me?
I am telling you, Jeff, that I have a copy of an affidavit from the girl.
Oh, Fred, I'm really disgusted. I mean, you will believe anything. You will grasp at any straw. I mean, you could have 14 affidavits from people, and if you think that makes any difference, you're crazy. I don't know what you're telling me, but if you're saying that I slept with a girl there every night in my room, that is the most absurd, insane comment. I hope you put that out, Fred, because if you have the audacity to believe something like that, then you deserve everything you get.
I talked to the girl, Jeff.
I don't care, Freddie. You talked to the girl. What the hell does that mean? If you think I'm going to bare my soul to people like you after what I've been through, you've got another thing coming. You're hurting innocent people. You're making yourself into a martyr, Freddie. You just won't let go.
Time will tell.
Well, now. I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you've ever had somebody like this in your life, it's an amazing thing to watch. If you're in front of the train and you know what you're seeing, just watching people like that, you can see it in people that are addicted to something, anything, whether it's gambling or sex or stock market or drugs, alcohol. They all seem to, their survival seems to kick in and like sharpen this survival technique of what's next. I got to do this, get through the obstacles. And it's funny because that's how you train a warrior too. Go through, over a mountain, through a mountain, around it, over it, under it, do it, But man, if you ever seen this in real life, whether it be a friend or a boss or some cheesy manager of a hotel someplace, it could be anybody. Have you ever known anybody seriously like this, Donnie?
Oh, I know several people like this.
The deflection is amazing. What do you mean? I call it, personally, I've been calling it just to kind of laugh through it, because it is, like I said, it's dark as it's all get out. You can't get darker. The Eddie Murphy, it wasn't me alibi. And if you're old enough to remember when Eddie Murphy used to be funny, he had this stand-up routine where he was describing how guys just go out with girls and they'll catch him right in the middle of it, or catching him, see him on a videotape or something like that, and they're just, wasn't me. But I said, no, wasn't me, and just keep doing it till you break the other person. The other person goes, oh, okay, and in some cases it doesn't take these people much to do that to somebody. You just break them down just by repeating the lie over and over and over and over again. How do you think we're in the shit we're in right now? It works.
And you know what's sad is that a lot of people like this who have very similar mentalities with Jeff, because the guy is pretty much a narcissist and a sociopath, but he incorporates his lack of empathy to help him advance in success and in life, right?
Yes.
Because if you look at the high end of society, if you look at investment bankers, politicians, CEOs, doctors, lawyers. A lot of them,
Yeah.
if you do a deep dive into psychology, a
Good
lot of them
point,
are
Glenn.
straight up sociopaths.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to watch, but I'll tell you, I can kind of understand. Ghost story sidebar here, because those are always fun.
Hmm.
But when a lot of times when you're dealing with, say, in trying to save a ghost or help a ghost or at least get them to understand, have enough clarity to make their own decision of free will of what they want. Okay, I realize where I am, but I'm going to chill for a minute. That's cool. This is. But when you're trying to help a ghost that is like this, can you imagine? We've heard it here when Rob Guttrow was describing to you how he went to Ford's Theater. Who did he bump into in the gift shop? Who were they talking about constantly in that gift shop? And had pictures up of Lincoln being shot and all about the night, of course, that Lincoln was shot during Our American Cousin.
Hmm.
That's what the Ford Theater is all about. So, of course, they'd be talking and constantly mention the name of the assassin, John Wilkes Booth.
I remember that. Yeah, that was a good
And,
one. That was a real good one.
Our friend Rob Guttrow, a fantastic medium. Donny has met him, been in the room with him, can vouch.
Hmm.
And is there, and he's bumping into, with no because Rob is like, I don't have any expectations, and starts feeling this energy and reading it on its base energies, on its default energies, and then starts picking up, over quite a bit of time, if I recall,
Yeah.
that it was John Wilkes Booth. And of course he was hanging out, not stuck, we don't believe stuck, but drawn there because of the constant calling. And almost he takes it because an very much similar characteristics and traits of this douchebag here.
Yeah.
The way he manipulated people, the way he overwhelmed them with his charm and his style and his his ability to be who he needed to be in that moment, and to change on a dime if he got it wrong. I've seen it done. It's an amazing trait, and it can be used for good, as a survival thing.
I mean,
because,
if you are a
yeah,
fan of history, history is filled
filled
with
with them.
examples like that.
Hey, Aunt
Filled.
Edna. Yeah, absolutely filled with them. We could sit here and name them all night long, I'm sure.
Oh,
Oh my
I
God,
couldn't even
Hitler
get past the
being one.
Roman Empire. It would just be an endless list of
Oh
names.
my gosh, yeah. But see, that's because you do achieve in using this, right? Hello, Monica. Hey, I know I didn't say hi to you, sweetie. And you too, Sue. But anyway, that's the way I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at it as an amazing will of a person like Freddie, and in her own way, Mildred.
Hmm.
Even more so in a lot of ways, Mildred. This is her daughter. This is her two grandbabies. They're adorable little, blonde-headed Cupid dolls. I'm telling you. The devastation.
Hmm.
And to love the young man and help him through, praying for him, baking, endless baking, just to make it through. And trying to fight for him, speaking for him in a character at the hearing, the military hearing, and stayed that way. And then all of a sudden, wham! Reality hits them, and now they're fighting with even more so, tooth and nail, to get this son of a bitch into a trial, and try to get this evidence. And I think the same thing that I'm sitting here saying, to let the victim speak. And if I just implore you, if you're out there listening now and you're still thinking, for whatever reason you're listening to this case or read about this case or interested in hearing this even, I to look at it through their eyes. And we're going to try something later if all things, it's Donnie's great idea. And if all of it falls through, we're going to see if we can get an echo of their voice if it's left, and see if they can speak for themselves. But I think we're already hearing them speak. I hear Colette through both of her broken arms, where she fought off her attacker that was hitting her with that club and broke those arms as a defense. The same place that Jeff got the pocket torn. Threads from his blue t-shirt are there. Splinters from the wood club used. Actually a piece of wood. But still a club. And people ask, what was the motive? Sorry, it took me a long time to come back full circle on that one. But the motive. And I implore you to say there was none. That motive wasn't born, and I don't know how rare that is, but this was an impulsive survival. Oh shit, what have I done? What do I have to do next? In my opinion. And the way the blood evidence breaks it down and tells the story, we've seen it twice now in this series. It speaks to me like Colette's broken arms, like her face and how it looked, how she crawled in her child's room to check on her child, only to be beaten again. But she saw her child like that, this mom. But I say a father saw his child and what he had done, and in that moment, bam, everything went off in him. Survive. Where most men, even in that situation, making it to that moment, would think of nothing else but dying with them and killing himself. Not Jeffrey MacDonald. Jeffrey MacDonald packed a bag to escape his situation that he got himself in. How do we know that? How do we know that, Donnie?
Because they found the briefcases, or the suitcases, I mean.
Mm-hmm. Packed.
All packed.
And they had no blood splatter on them.
Mm-hmm.
So we know where they were sitting that they would have had blood splatter on them.
I mean, it was messy, so they should have been there. So, yeah.
I mean, little things like that to tell you a character of a person. I think he lost it when he turned around and saw where he had I think he accidentally hit his daughter. I think she was standing in the doorway. I think he caved her little face in, and when he saw that, he broke.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't break to the point of, like I said, a dad that would just die with. It was all about how does the Jeffrey survive. And nothing in that room says anything about 4 other people, 2 other people, or even 1 other person standing, because again, there would have been a void in the blood splatter, and there was none. There would have been, I believe, a void in the blood on the floor, where somebody, even if they were standing off to the side watching it and carrying on with holding candles and not dripping wax on the floor. So here we go. We'll finish up, but that's where we are so far. You guys are pretty caught up. What is this? A family argument gone horribly wrong. Yeah, Linda, I think so too. Whether he was hopped up adrenaline-wise on drugs, which, lack of sleep deprivation, all these things are going to add into it. But I think even without that, I think he had the type of personality where he was really... he ruled that house. There's no doubt. I think Colette, her actions were showing me that she got to a certain point, was just fantastic mom, spent a lot of time with the kids, hands-on, and still held herself together. She was, involved in this and that, and, but mostly mom stuff. But she was starting to branch out. and she was starting to get a little sick of Jeff and his stuff, and she started to talk about it. There are plenty of people that say that she was unhappy, but she was closed mouth about it, and she would like change the subject when somebody would say, "Oh, isn't Jeff just And she'd, well,
I know a lot of wives like that too.
yeah,
Yeah.
So there you go. All right.
Also,
Go
I
ahead.
just got to add,
Go ahead.
I've known quite a few people, not myself, but I've known quite a few people who used to abuse methamphetamines. I mean, I've never even tried them. So, but yeah, I have like some close friends who are, addicted to that. And it does happen. They do
Yeah.
flip out like that sometimes, and
Yeah.
very just without any logic or rationality, they just flip out. I've heard of it happening. I've never
Yeah.
seen it myself.
And that's another thing you're going to hear in the trial coming up, Linda, and you can vouch again for the book. We are going to meet Joe McGinnis, and yeah, like the Good Wife. Yeah. I mean, but that was it. You're military. We're almost there. I mean, this is the age-old story of the woman who backs the doctor that gets him through all that craziness. He becomes a doctor. He dumps her for a nurse. I mean, it's so old. It's so, tale as old as time. It's just the way it is, and they're left with the kids and fighting for custody, and he's off with a boat and God knows what, and golfing and whatever. I mean, it's just the way. And people, guys like that, know how to pick them.
Yeah, I know.
She stood by him. Yeah, they know how to pick them.
Have you had many friends who are doctors, Cisco? Like just people that you knew?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's
Did a lot of them
multiple
strike
even in
you
the
as
family.
kind of like?
In some cases, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also certain departments. I've had to deal with a lot of neurologists lately. I mean, over the past couple of years, and I'll tell you what, man, there's nothing quite like God as a neurologist walking through a hospital, man. The closest thing to it is a general on a battlefield,
Yeah, that's the most complicated part. That's the hardest part to learn.
And it's just funny because, again, not that accidents are funny, but when you go at it, you have someone in your family get injured in a car accident, whatever, the stuff you got to go through, and you have to go through all the steps. And we choose to laugh through ours. And the funny thing is people know that, anybody that knows me, I don't probe a lot of shit. And a lot of people don't realize that when you're in the hospital, you can fire the people that come into that room that you're fired by. Next. I mean, you really can. And we went through so many until we finally got to one that wasn't just trying to push a pharmaceutical of the day or this. You want to talk to me about it. What's this going to do? What's that doing? And talk to me. Till you get one of those, just keep firing them.
And
it's true.
I'm not going to try to.
They are like that. They are very much like that. To answer your question, Donnie, absolutely.
I'm not going to try to divulge too much of anyone's personal details or names, but the stepfather of someone very close to me is a doctor. I forgot what kind. I think it was like a general practitioner or something.
See, they're
Anyway,
usually a different ilk.
this guy has been cheating on like his wife, like willy-nilly, not even giving a damn if she finds out, This guy's just like kind of like that dude, He doesn't care. He just doesn't care. He flips out.
A lot of that, Donnie, very well could also be too, maybe not have that full-on personality, but more like in touch with, they see so much death that they want to live. So I've seen that too, and they don't have that personality. It's just like, I'm going to go, and I've earned it, but not so narcissistic and psychopathic as this guy. I mean, you're showing you, this is, like I said, this is Eddie Murphy raw. This is, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. No matter what you show me, you could show me a video of me stabbing her with the ice pick, and I'm going to say, it's not me. Doesn't look like me. I'm a lot taller than that. And without missing a beat, just right there with it the whole time. It's still to this day. So it's incredible to watch. So, and to avoid at all costs.
Freddie, it's almost 6 o'clock and they're going to be closing soon. Now, we've got to get to the cleaners before they close, too.
I think maybe I've got something. Now, you know that lawyer, Kahn, who talked about a citizen's complaint?
Yes.
Well, the thing is that if we can get a return of presentment from a grand jury, then the Justice Department will be forced to prosecute.
But how do...
First, we file a citizen's complaint charging him with 3 counts of murder. And then what we do is we... Then we take it to the chief judge of the Eastern District of North Carolina along with sworn affidavits on the facts of the case. We're going to do it, Mildred. I tell you, we're going to do it. We're going to stop this monster if it's the last thing we ever do.
Freddie.
Let me sort of warn you, Freddie. Victor Warheide is, well, he's a little eccentric, but he's still the best lawyer they've got in the Justice Department. Through there.
Hey, Donnie, do you have anything on Warhardy? He's a hoot and holler, I'm telling you. But you know what he was? He was a man who believed in the law and in doing the right thing. But he was extremely eccentric and just funny. And he was terrific through this whole case. Unfortunately, he dies before it's all over. So anyway, it's okay, Donnie, if you don't. I think they're going to get just about what this guy is like in this short clip, which is why I left it in here. So let's just let it roll. It's not a problem.
Come in.
Victor, I'd like you to meet Freddie Cassad.
Hi. Sit down.
If you don't mind us getting right to the point, have you reached any conclusions yet?
Yeah. I've reached one conclusion. The Justice Department has dumped all this crap on my desk. Sit down. It seems a citizen's complaint's been filed, and the criminal division has asked me to review it with a view toward grand jury action. So what do we have here? I'll tell you what we don't have. We have no confession. We have no apparent motive. We have no witnesses. And any attempt to convict this man is unlikely to succeed.
That is exactly what Mr. Cassad has been hearing for years. And yet...
And yet you both think you have a case.
We do.
What are you getting out of this?
May I answer that? There are a few of us, sir, and Mr. Murtaugh happens to be one of them, thank God, who are guided by one thought, and that is the butchered bodies of a pregnant woman and her 2 little girls.
Earlier in the day,
There it is.
Yep.
That's why we're doing it. Those 2 little girls and that pregnant mama. And that's why we're really doing this tonight. Because, gosh, you know, I didn't want to go dragging all through this. But another one of my motivations was also how many people I saw were taken in by little things that were said along the way. I've heard a lot over 50 years. You don't hear constantly about it, but it's like one of those things that keep popping up throughout, especially if you look into conspiracies and crimes and, you know, military and, you know, different things like that. It does. It's interwoven throughout my lifetime. Go ahead.
Just to catch people up, this is the grand jury hearing to
Yep.
see if they're going to indict Jeffrey MacDonald. So basically, this is the pretrial trial. So he goes to the U.S. Eastern District Court, and then the grand jury convenes before Franklin Dupree, and this guy's going to be in this a lot. And this took place in Raleigh. I think I was actually in this building at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suddenly realized that while I was researching. I was like, I was there.
Gosh. All the inside of courtrooms that I've seen.
Yeah.
Oh,
not
gosh, I think
as
that's a
I wasn't
song,
on
isn't
trial
it?
for anything. I was just there as a spectator, folks. I wasn't in trouble.
Yeah, I can't say the same thing.
I've never been caught.
I've seen the inside of a lot of courtrooms. Not always for myself, like for people I love, and
Yeah.
and situations that are hairy, scary, man. And I'll
I
tell
was
you
just
what,
sitting there
I've
watching
never seen one I liked.
I was just
That's
sitting
for
there
sure.
watching all the lawyers, and then I would just kind of watch them
Yeah.
and eavesdrop on them as they would like have their side conversations. I'm like, these people are like reptilians, man. They're
Yeah,
like
prettiest
lizards.
ones I've ever seen were actually in Huntsville, Alabama. Though they have a beautiful courthouse downtown, right in the center of downtown, right big. That's just I got stories, but anyway, I digress. Let's go ahead and watch this trial. We don't want to talk about it.
All right.
You don't want to hear anything about it.
You testified that as a babysitter for the McDonald's, you thought that they had an ice pick in the house. Are you sure right now that they had an ice pick in the house?
Yes.
In my experience as a news reporter, drug addicts would never say acid is groovy. Groovy is just not a word people doing acid would use. And also, 4 people doing acid couldn't organize a trip to the toilet, let alone organize the murder of 3 people.
Totally
A
agree.
copy of Esquire magazine was found
Totally agree.
in your home
As someone who's taken
with
acid, I
articles
agree
about
as
the
well.
Sharon Tate murder. Did you discuss these articles with a friend?
What happened was we were just sitting around talking, and we thumbed through the magazine, and that was it. That's all there was. And now, for some reason, this becomes an important thing in my life.
I ask you again, Doctor. Will you submit to a polygraph or sodium amytal examination?
My lawyer says that it would be dangerous for me to undergo a sodium amytal exam. This is a drug which essentially causes a person to relive the episode. This is not merely a recalling, but it is a complete reliving with most or all of the emotional feelings, anguish, grief to the experience after the...
Let's just stop here just a second. And I want to look back and see that face right there? Andy ain't buying it. What do y'all think? I mean, look at that face. He's already got him pegged. Andy has got him pegged. I don't care if it was the real guy or whatever, but Andy's got him pegged. What do you think, Donnie?
Yeah,
That
I
face.
think, yeah, they're just looking at him. They're like, man, this guy's an actor.
This
That's
is what
this
is
guy
he?
is.
Yeah, you know who else used to be like this? I'm gonna give you a little inside information here. We know I love again, sad, but the JFK assassination stuff. Do you know who else had this ability and was very much like this? Just to give you a little hint on how deep you should dig if you're really into the JFK assassination, really want to know the truth? Johnson. This was a weapon that LBJ used if he felt like he was out-muscled in a room. He used it since he was a kid. And one of the biggest brown nosers of old professional rich men, and I mean brown nosers, I'm not saying anything else sexual, I'm saying, he'd kiss their ass and kiss the ring and learn all the wisdom that he could from them and then bounce off like leapfrog. you know, when he was in high school, he would he'd find out who's had the dads with lots of money, and he would go date these girls, and after just a couple weeks, go and ask the dad, "I want to marry your daughter," and they'd get thrown out of the house, and he'd go on to the next one. Didn't matter what they looked like, but that was Johnson. And Lyndon Johnson did it in the White House, and also did it to Bobby when Bobby got mad that they had blackmailed and cornered his brother. It's another episode, but we'll do that episode because the stuff you don't know and the stuff you need to know and should know is amazing. But this guy's got the same thing, and when he did this, back when I saw this first, probably as a teenager, if you didn't know it now, there you go. Donnie, anything?
I don't know much about the sodium, what's it called, that he was like saying that he didn't want to take. That's like a truth drug or something. Sodium, whatchamacallit? Hello? Oh. But yeah, I never heard of that. And he was talking about how it makes you relive it. So is it something that's supposed to like induce like a hypnosis state or something? Okay, am I the only one talking right now? Can you guys hear Cisco? Is it just me right now?
Man,
Chat?
I was throwing out some brilliant shit too. And
Oh,
you guys
well,
totally missed it. No,
Oh.
I'm joking. No, I was saying that, yeah, sodium pentothal, it was known as a truth serum, and it was big in the 70s. We'd throw it all around because they were always throwing it around that they were going to use it on the mob to get the mob to talk because the mob was all tight. They had this code of silence. And yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Yeah. So.
Like, did it work?
Yeah.
Really?
And it puts you into like this hypnotic trance, and somebody will ask you a question, and you just have to tell them the truth. It's chemically works with the chemicals in your brain that you have to have, blocks lies or some bullshit. I don't know. You have to. I'm not a scientist. You know, but the thing is yeah, and they're playing on the whole fact that it almost makes you relive it, like very much like past life regression or hypnosis to remember a crime or being abducted or something like that. And they're playing on this. But again, he's using the LBJ, get out of, you know, and it's not even, if you really look at the deep, deep rabbit hole of this shit, this mind, you know what I want to say, this mind screwing that he's doing to these people, right? It's so deep, and it's almost to the point of, at least with LBJ, the most thing was, it was not to humiliate himself, but to humiliate the people in the room, because it really does put people off guard. It makes people nervous and uncomfortable, and you know, LBJ did many things like that. Not just for the power of it, but to actually degrade the people in the room. So Jeff's thing is more like, he's very big on deflecting, like, how dare you even imagine that, you know. Even they're showing him how his footprint matches the footprint on the floor. And he said, it could belong to anybody. He just doesn't care. You know, we're seeing it every day if you watch, you know, MSM now. I mean, I'm telling you right now, people don't change. People aren't different. You know, these people, there's multiple people like this out there, you know, and they tend to rise into power. And right now, there's probably way too many of them in power. So if you
People like that have always been in power.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree, totally agree. Second that emotion, Donnie.
Anguish, grief to the experience after there.
Take your time, doctor. Take your time. help, Freddie. We've got to have the hair samples. We've got to know that hair found in Colette's hand was her own, Jeff's, the kids,
Or someone with a floppy hat.
Gentlemen, the hair was her own. Another thing, I have a clipping here about the
They were cutting hair off her head, honey, to match with the hair that they already had in the hand to see whose it was or whose it wasn't. And it wound up being hers, the one that was clutched in her hand. But yeah, I understand your question, but I just want to clear that up.
graves of my wife and children, and I'd like for the grand jury to see it. It is indicative of how this case has been handled from the beginning to the end, because no one asked the husband or father whether these graves should be opened. What you did was, is you sleazy jerks paid off 6 grave diggers $50 apiece not to say anything.
Doctor, what exactly is a paranoid type psychosis?
This is when an individual becomes convinced that his particular view of reality is absolutely the only correct view, and that anyone who disagrees with it is completely out of touch.
Now, Doctor, in regards to this particular case, the MPs who came to the home and found an emergency situation, the CID agents who conducted the investigation, the medics who came and gave first aid, the hospital staff who treated him, might his psychological pattern be expressed by the attitude, they're all bunglers, they're idiots, they're stupid, they're jerks, they didn't do things right, they're incompetent?
Yes. Also, during the psychological testing I conducted, his behavior was quite inappropriate, revealing an attitude I would call paranoid-like.
Can you explain that, please?
It was the conveying of contempt, of disparagement for the examination, the examiner, the whole process that was going on at the time.
My brother's getting a raw deal.
Is that it?
This whole thing's a sham, a farce.
Is that it?
This whole thing is rigged from the beginning.
Is that it?
Look, as far as you and all these investigators, I'm on the 20th floor, and I think you're a pile of garbage. I didn't know they piled it that high.
I object to the badgering of my relatives to get some testimony. One of my relatives was told that the only time that I broke down and cried was discussing the sodium amytal examinations. That's absurd.
Who allegedly made that statement?
That creep who works for you, that little viper.
All right.
That little guy who doesn't have the politeness to introduce himself or doesn't know any of the social amenities.
Now, I take it as a doctor you collected medical supplies.
I had a large hall closet.
I take it as a doctor you collected medical supplies.
I had a large hall closet that had a lot of medications, first aid equipment.
Did you have any pills that some people refer to as uppers or downers, so on and so forth?
There was a bottle of Escatrol diet pills, which had some amphetamines in it. And Colette was using Benadryl.
Sorry, I had to pull over a second. Donnie, can you answer that question?
I mean, I'm not an expert on the process, so
I know he was talked into it by his lawyers in this case, it's possible that this was the one, because they started at the very beginning. Get up there and tell your story. Talk about the kids. Talk about, what a great dad you were and stuff like that. They were forcing him to make his family life more.
I can, however, add more details about what's going on in this case, or like.
Go right ahead, man. Go right ahead.
So they wound up actually bringing up a total of 75 witnesses. Jeffrey MacDonald was the first one up, and then one of the things that he actually wound up admitting was that he didn't like fully pursue the guilty parties. Like he didn't try to, contact authorities or aid in an investigation. So he admitted it to that. And then they bring up, I don't know if this is going to come up, but they bring up like some of the inconsistencies in his stories.
Yeah, in this and in the next, but that's a big one there. In a lot of comments, in a lot of stories, in blogs, and Reddit threads, whatever the kids call it over there.
Yeah.
A lot of people are commenting, well, he's never changed his story. He's been consistent all the way through. No, hard no. Hard no. He's changed multiple times. He stays within the template, you know what I mean? But he does change it. I mean, to the, subtle but, notable. Colette and I sat on the couch, we listened to a record and had a bedtime drink, which always makes me vomit a little when I hear him say that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, for some reason, it's just over creepy to me, ugh. But, and then another time we watched a late night show, which gets him a big laugh on the Dick Cavett show. And so he'll use it again. And then he changes it up in another interview to match similar to who's interviewing him that time. I mean, he does this. Now, he might have stayed consistent since he's been in prison, where he's tried to pull up new information. And of course, like I said, to be fair for the other side, if you really want to say they're really on the other side, because they're kind of vague themselves.
Yeah.
What's the name of that one, Donnie? The new Wilderness of Doubt on FX. If you haven't watched that,
I think it's on Hulu.
Is it on Hulu?
I think it's on Hulu.
Okay. Well, I know FX put it out, but you
wait,
can
was
see
it?
it on Hulu.
I think it was Wilderness of Errors.
It could
I'm not
be
sure,
that.
yeah.
Well, that's the book, I believe.
Okay.
There's two.
Can I just add some
Yes.
information about the
Yes, go right
psychologist? So
Yes.
previously in the video, you saw that psychologist giving him like his professional opinion about the breakdown of Jeffrey MacDonald. Now, if this is the same psychologist I'm thinking of, because the psychologist they brought in for the grand jury hearing was actually the head of psychology for the Army. He was like the chief of clinical psychology at the base, and he actually testified twice at the Article 32 hearing and then at the grand jury hearing. But in the Army hearing, he actually testified about like the initial reaction to his family's death, because he talked to him like almost right after, like a couple days after the murder took place.
True.
So he observed his immediate like response, and he noted that he had like he had an absence of anger, anxiety, and depression, is what he said when he first saw him.
Wow, powerful. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's, that ain't beating around the bush, And look, I mean, and as if nothing else, just to back it up, look at Andy's face. Here we are again. That face says it all. Andy ain't buying it. Neither am I. I don't know how you guys feel, but I'm with Andy on this one so far.
Occasionally for sleep.
Look, we know MacDonald had extramarital affairs that Colette was unaware of.
So what?
Huh?
Extramarital affairs do not prove the man's a killer.
He lied about it. Just like he lied about going off with a boxing team to Russia when he just wanted to get the hell away.
So he lied to his wife. Who doesn't now and then?
Look, the guy was on a 24-hour shift the night before the murders. Then he put in a full day at the office. So maybe he was taking pills to keep himself going. Too many of those and you're just asking for trouble.
He was tested for drugs at the hospital. They found nothing.
Wait a minute, they tested him for heavy drugs, but not amphetamines.
We don't know that he ever took them. We don't even know what he and Colette were fighting about. What set him off? His infidelity, the kid waiting to bed?
It's possible.
It's not a motive, Brian, that we can prove. We don't have a motive.
Excuse me, gentlemen. If we could for the moment put aside the motivation, I'd like to point out how fortunate we are.
Fortunate?
Only one family in 1,000, 10,000 have different blood types. The father, the mother, the children, all different. And because of this, we are able to determine what happened, even if we haven't the why.
It's not complete. It'll never be complete without the why. And I can promise you this, Jeff MacDonald will never tell us. See you later, gentlemen.
Hold on, I'll walk you downstairs.
You know,
I wanted to stop right there because we know, because I see Linda in here, so here we go. And I think Edna's on it too. This is where he says, tell me. Tell me what the blood's telling you. And he walks him all the way through it. We've seen it twice now. And I do have that video, but I think right here we've seen it twice. And I would like to save that for when our special guest comes. If we do get a chance to do that, where we bring in another last opinion on it, see if that changes anybody one way or the other, and maybe bring in some friends who have some abilities to do a final on this. And yeah, so I don't want to really show it again. So we know this is where he describes the blood, and that they had each a different blood type. So it's unmistakable, along with the threads from the shirt, and pieces of the surgical gloves. Now, I've worn these, I think, due to this wonderful past couple of years we've had. People have gotten up close and personal with rubber gloves now and then. A lot more than usual. And you realize that if you are wearing those surgical ones, the rubbery, snappy ones, they will come apart and pieces will start falling off, especially if you had to work in them. Right? So, after time, I mean, they do, and especially if you're going at it. And apparently, no offense meant when I say killing is hard work. You're holding sharp items, slippery. Now you're wearing slippery gloves. Once they're wet, I mean, at first they've got a grip, but after they're wet, slippery. They get little cuts in them. They get worn out. They get caught in things. They get caught in the, in the blade. There was pieces where they believe Colette and he had their tussle after the fact. Because remember, she wasn't out yet. She went in, she checked on one of the little girls. He found her there. Beat her again and carried her back into the room. And they know this because of the blood that she left while he was still wearing the shirt. That's when he went for the ice pick and took off the shirt. So, wow. So there's that. So that's what happens, and now we're back in the trial. They're still neck deep in this little hearing that they're having.
Yeah, look at what Blue Crossroads said. He said, next time
hang on. I'll pull it up. Go ahead, Donnie, you can read it.
Next time I give a talk or instruction on criminal law, I would love to play that scene for my class.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's it's quite the thing. It's when evidence speaks that way, and that's why I said I keep bringing it up because it's them talking to us. You know? Look at the last comment.
Yeah, he said earlier, this is a good educational scene about the difference between knowing guilt and proving guilt. This is one of the biggest things most citizens do not understand.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Proving it. Yeah, I mean, granted, a huge part of this case is circumstantial. Everybody admits it across the board, but taken as a big picture. And, you know, these old Southern attorneys and this guy that Andy Griffith is playing, they're right. You know, so what? He lies to his wife. So what? You know, he banged everybody in town. Doesn't mean he killed them. I need proof that they killed them. Show me that. And that's what this lab is showing. When they get the blood evidence and they give the... Like Andy really didn't even look at that yet, you know, at this time in the trial thing here. It's Freddie who listens and hears it all, and just that's it. I'm so convinced. I mean, it's horrible. He's really has lost everybody except Mildred, you know, who's a pretty tough little cookie, you know. So here we go. Let's finish this one up.
I didn't do enough to save my family. And then you come in here and you tell me that someone's folded the top of my pajama top and put some little probes through it. And that means that I killed Colette. And these arguments about other women are absurd. I slept with a lot of women, but it doesn't mean anything. It's never meant anything to me. I never chased girls in California, and yet I must have slept with 30 since I've been there. But because I don't spend the rest of my life, you know, praying on the graves, you tell me that I don't love my family and that I must have killed them, and that is not true. It's a lot of crap. I didn't kill Colette. I didn't kill Kimmy. I didn't kill Christy. I gave them mouth-to-mouth breathing. I loved them. I love them now. And you can take all your evidence and you can shove it.
Well, the moment you
Andy ain't buying it.
hear anything, let me know, will you? What? Oh. Well, give him our best. That was Brian Murtaugh. Seems like the 23 grand jurors are still trying to make up their mind whether there should be a trial or not. 5 months of testimony, over 100 witnesses, and they still can't make up their mind.
How's Mr. Warheide?
Not too well, I'm afraid. But he's more anxious than ever to bring this to trial.
Well, I still thank God he was at the hearing.
Hearing? Always hearings. Well, I want a trial. He's got to be brought to trial.
Freddie, you can't expect the jurors to make up their minds overnight.
Overnight. We've been waiting for 5 years.
Hi. How'd it go?
Terrific. Beautiful day.
Bernie Siegel called.
Any message?
Said he'd call you back.
Let's go get something to eat. I'm starving. Mother, you're too much. You know that? And I think I know what that is.
You got it. And tomorrow I'm
going to San Diego tomorrow. I'm giving 3 lectures on child abuse. There's a hospital administrator there. He wants me to, work out a program.
Jeff?
You heard that, right, Donnie?
Yep.
Giving a lecture on child abuse?
Yep.
I figured you'd pick up on that. Yeah. It's crazy, right?
Yep. Of all people, right?
Hello.
Hi, Jeff. It's Bernie. I tried to reach you earlier, but
Yeah, my mom told me. What's up, Bernie?
Well, I just wanted to get to you before anyone else. I mean, so you'll understand exactly what's going on. You see, the grand jury has finally decided to...
Wait a second, Bernie. What? Hold it. Dr. MacDonald, FBI, I'll have to ask you to come with us. You've been indicted for murder by the grand jury of the Eastern District of North Carolina. You'll have to come with us.
Jeff, you there? Can you hear me?
So you're out of the Army now, huh?
And into the arms of the Justice Department, full time.
They don't know how lucky they are. They've got a first-rate lawyer, and nobody knows it better than I do. Come on, let's have a cup of coffee. Ryan, I tell you, I'll never be able to thank you enough.
Look, Freddie, I'm afraid I got some bad news for you.
Bad news? What do you mean bad news? We've got him, haven't we? He's going to trial.
The fact is, he's appealing for dismissal of charges on the basis of not receiving a speedy trial.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, the idea is to make it look as though it's too late in the day to try him now.
Well, what are they talking about? It took us this long to get a grand jury indictment.
I know that, Freddie, but he's also making an appeal on double jeopardy.
Double? He's never had a trial, only hearings.
He's out on bail, Freddie. He's free. And he will remain free as long as his lawyers have any recourse left to them.
How many weeks will that take?
The truth is, it could take months, even years. I'm sorry.
What does War Heidi have to say about all this?
War Heidi? You haven't heard? Last Thursday, he collapsed on the sidewalk near his home. Heart attack. He's dead, Freddie.
That was Andy Griffith, by the way. So that character that was really fighting for him was just passed.
Just when they thought they got him, he slips away.
So true.
Freddie, I'm not finished with this case yet. Hey, how about that cup of coffee?
Wait a second, Bernie. I don't think I'm hearing this right. I don't think I'm getting this. You mean you're not saying the indictment's been dismissed?
Jeff, come on.
Oh. Bernie, that's terrific. I can't hardly believe it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. You bet.
Ready to turn him down last night?
Just tell him we're too busy.
For my information, Freddie, how long do we remain busy? Freddie, I'd like to know how many more months and months do we go on like this?
What do you mean?
You know very well what I mean. I don't like what's happening any more than you do. I think it's absolutely appalling. But if you're just going to let it tear you apart and not do anything about it...
Maybe I am.
What do you mean?
I've obtained a gun permit.
Oh, dear God.
I'm not going to let him get away with it. If the courts don't do...
Freddie, have you really gone mad?
The courts...
All right, the courts. Now, he appealed to the courts, and so can we.
The courts take forever.
So you just give up?
I'll never give up. But I tell you...
Then appeal to the courts, Freddie. Do it!
Are you willing to go through this again?
Yes.
Take all the horror, the misery, the delay,
Yes,
everything?
yes, I am willing. Yes.
Well, if you'll excuse me, I've got some letters to write.
Letters?
U.S. Attorney General, U.S. Solicitor General, Judiciary Committee of the House and Senate, the Grievance Committee of the American Bar Association. And you know, while I'm at it, I may as well write a letter to the United States Supreme Court asking for a petition to bring Jeff MacDonald to trial. And in case I haven't mentioned it to you lately, I love you very much.
Well, there we go, man.
There we go.
Intense, and it
so-
continues.
Well, can I just clarify a little bit of
Go.
information there from that last? So,
Real quick though, I'd like to hold on just a second. Don't lose that. But
Okay.
Mairead, I love you, baby. Welcome in. Sean's here from Chasing the Truth. Great show. If you're not subbed over there, get over there and sub to Sean's show. It's great. Great guests. And welcome in Bobby. And I love the logo, by the way. Where we go one, you know.
yeah.
All right, there we go. Floor is yours, Donnie.
Just real quick. So what happened was when McDonald gets indicted with those 3 counts of murder. So his friends and his colleagues, and they do fundraisers, and they raise the money for his bail, right? So he gets out. He pleads not guilty. And the U.S. District Judge, where this trial is taking place, he rejects their initial bid to dismiss the case on account of double jeopardy and the right to a speedy trial, the Sixth Amendment. So, but then the Fourth Circuit Court, the court above that, I guess, they ruled a stay of proceedings on the grounds for the defendant's right to a speedy trial. And then so when they did that, it said that McDonald wept tears of joy. And this took place in like 1975.
LBJ tears.
So this was like 5 years after.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how he got away.
One thing I absolutely know for sure, Donnie, we've probably gone orange already on this show.
Mm-hmm.
I know darn well that the monetization little dollar sign is going to be caution orange at the very least, because every time, we can't get through. We can't get through. We got it on the first one, and we weren't even showing any of all we showed was the evidence photo. I mean the weapons, which is macabre, but it's not. We didn't even show chocolate lines on the floor.
Yeah.
Just the living room stuff, and I don't know. You can't even figure out what's okay with YouTube and what isn't, but I think the LBJ comment probably got us in trouble. It's always me. It's my fault. I can't help it. Jersey redhead that I am. It just comes natural. Can't help it. I was drawn this way. And if you know that what movie, can anybody tell me what movie that's from? I can't help it. I was drawn this way. Great flick. Do you know, Donnie? No, you weren't born yet. Oh, you missed it. You got to see it. It's great. Have a milkshake. No, better yet, a sundae, like I described to you.
Okay.
And you don't have to go chocolate chip mint if you don't want to. You can go vanilla. You don't have to go, just full tilt boogie the first time out, because, that's kind of an acquired taste. But the hot fudge sundae, and watch this movie. It's, anybody's got it yet? Oh, wait, Vixen Doe. Oh, and Edna's got it. Were you the first one added to Roger Rabbit? Yes. Yes.
Oh, I saw that movie.
Yeah. Oh,
I know
did
what you're
you?
talking.
Who
Yeah, I
Framed
saw that
Roger
movie. Who
Rabbit?
Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jessica Rabbit says that. I can't help it. You know, everybody says she's bad, you know, but she can't help it. She's just drawn that way. Well, that's how I feel, you know. Just what chance did I have? I'm a redhead, Scottish, Cherokee, and Lenape, and born and raised in New Jersey, and they took me in the army, and they taught me they taught me bad things. But anyway, here's this. Wow. Here we are. Now, where are we, Donnie? Right now, where we left off in this video.
So he decides to write a letter to
Andy's
this.
dead.
Yeah.
So there's a confidant. There's a legal concierge. Kind of a little Sherman tank he was. But he was quirky, but he was all about the law. And he had him steered the right direction, I believe. Who framed out everybody's answering now. I was typing LBJ. We're in so much trouble. This is gonna go red. So listen, you know, help me out. Share this out. Invite friends that like conspiracy stuff, and comment, please, and hit the like. I mean, these are all things you can do for free. If you don't want to do it, you can't do a super chat. Everybody's tight right now. Or, you know, if you missed Father's Day, you could have got, you know, a crispy pillow over at the Tea Public. If any of my mods have that link, please drop that now. And also my PayPal. If you want to just do that, you know, buy me a coffee or whatever, or help me throw money at the internet or StreamYard. I appreciate it because it helps keep it going, because we love doing this, don't we, Donnie?
Yeah.
We love doing this. We love having guests on and people on and bringing you information and looking at things. Hey, Steve. Hi, honey. I got a big old surprise for you tomorrow. I'm so excited. I get so excited when I find stuff I know that's just going to make Steve's tail wag. And I see it, and I just get, see how I'm smiling? That's real. That's a real smile, you know. But I found something for Monday Madness for tomorrow night. And the whole thing, it's a little different. It's not paranormal, but it's normal, and it's about people and nostalgia and a big part of our lives, and goes way back. And Steve, when it popped up, I said I have to have it. I have to have it for Steve. So I know I can't wait either. Let's do it right now. So, but I get all excited because I just love my buddy, and I know some of the stuff he likes, and he likes this really, really cool stuff, and it's always interesting to bring up the weird and wonderful sometimes, you know. It's a magical world that we live in. Sometimes it's black magic. You know? But I mean, it's true. We know it's true. You know, we just know how to fight it. We got to fight it with the light. So that's why we're all here. We're trying to understand these criminal types so we can avoid them, and maybe, you know, I don't know what we're trying to accomplish here. I guess just learning discernment and what sets people off, maybe how to avoid it, Donnie. You know, what's our...
Some people, like, you can have all the discernment in the world, but there's just some people out there
God.
that are just real good at pushing all the right buttons. You know,
dude, so true.
they get the best of us. I think God. We've all been got by someone like that.
Yes, and you know what? It's light workers are really, really, you know, we're targets because, first of all, we draw people like this. They see us coming. They think we're easy targets because we have that extra. We're stronger, we've been around, but sometimes that gives you overconfidence, and you think, okay, well, that person's got something in them worth saving, or I can handle it, I can see it coming, I can deflect it, I can, you know, we all have done it because we believe in saving a human being. We believe in going that extra mile to help that addict through, you know, or that loved one that's a compulsive shoplifter. I mean, you think of all the weirdest stuff, but when you're going through it, it's horrific. You know, think about it. You know, you're at the office, you're always getting calls from the, you know, from the local cops because your kid is in the mall, you know, pilfering, you know, Armani and shit. I mean, it sounds like a rich person's, you know, problem. but nonetheless painful for a mother, or they just have more money to throw at it. Do you know what I'm saying? When you're poor, we gotta handle stuff different. But even upper middle class, I mean, when you're way up there, I mean, people just throw money at everything. Look, they're getting their kids in college and lying about it and saying they're on the row team and shit, and just throwing $150,000 or more or whatever it was. Proven. We knew it was happening, but we've seen people go to jail for this lately. I mean, so obviously having lots of money makes people like this climb the ladder a lot faster, but they're down here in the ditches with, normal slobs like us too. You know what I mean? I'm trying to make you laugh, but you know I'm telling the truth. Am I lying, Donnie?
Mm-mm.
I ain't lying. They're down here in the trenches with us too. It's the creepy manager and that job you have to pick up to, help get that bill taken care of, or whatever. It's the guy at the DMV. You have to put up with their shit because you got to get your damn car. It might be a minute time in your life where you have to brush elbows with people like this.
You know what's kind of messed up, actually? I knew a few pastors who were like that as well. You'd be amazed at how
lying,
much.
man.
You'd be amazed at what kind of weird narcissistic sociopaths you see amongst some pastors. I'm not saying all pastors, but there were some pastors I met. You're just
my God.
what?
Some of the stuff I've heard from the pulpit, man, I've seen it all. I was lucky enough to be raised by a woman who, she had a flavor, but it was explore all of it. She was like a not all wisdom is found in one place kind of, person, but she was all about some Jesus, I mean, that was her base. And she didn't like all the bureaucracy of the churches, and she saw it. So because she saw it, I saw it early, and I checked out a lot of different stuff. So some of the stuff I've heard, I have gotten up in the middle of sermons and walked out the door. Grab kids in tow, because they've said certain things that are just like that. Nope, there's a line. Whoop, no, hard no. I mean, it's more than once, because I've heard some just straight up BS.
I've
but
witnessed
the stuff you're talking about, it's like Jesus wants me to drive a Cadillac. Don't you want your pastor to look good, to represent the love of God? So here comes the hat, and everybody's throwing. I've heard stories in some churches where they'll tell you what they expect you to give them based on your job and your income. I'm sure this is an unusual thing. If that isn't some balls out, I don't know what is. There was a little old lady once, I can't remember the whole story on her, but it was basically, she would say, if God wants my money, he'll take it. It's like, you think God wants my money? What's God going to do with my money? And I know, that they were having a thing on this tithing, and not that it's wrong or I disagree or I agree or any of that. I'm just saying, I think back in the day when you had a little community church and everybody chipped in and everybody was represented, and they kind of did sort of like they did when I was in the military. Everything was kind of represented and respected. You know what I mean? All at the same time in the same room. Imagine that. And everybody just respected everybody else. It was like, you're cool, I'm cool, everybody's cool, because we're all supposed to just be cool to each other. And it just got all, it gets all crazy when you put, you throw it out there. But yeah, I totally agree. I have seen exactly what you said. I didn't mean to get on a thing. I apologize. But
I got
anyway,
some stories.
Go.
But yeah.
Well,
That's for
listen,
another time.
this is where we are, Donnie. We're right up in your. This is all up Donnie's alley now. This is the crescendo. We are on our way out. We're at the very end. This is the final criminal case. Donnie,
This is the trial.
Do you want to give it?
Trial.
Do you want to give it a hey ho here or what?
Oh, okay. Well, So should I just skip ahead? So he decides to send a letter to the Supreme Court, right? 3 years later, does 1978.
Right.
Supreme Court basically overturns the previous decision because they basically said that the right to a speedy trial, the Sixth Amendment, doesn't apply in this case because there was nothing actively hampering his ability to have a trial, right? Like the time in between didn't count. So they overturned that ruling. So then he was indicted again, and then the actual trial begins. So yeah, that's all I have to say before we play.
Glad I totally, man. There's a lot of that going on, but you know what? I'm seeing a lot of it getting caught too. So, seeing
I've
a
been in the
lot of
room
takedowns,
and seen
dude.
some things. I've
Oh
seen
God,
some
yeah.
things.
Yep. Don't you dare let them think that you're winning just because you're seeing more evil. You know why you're seeing more evil? It's think of this. It's like, a large group of people woke up and everybody all at once turned their lights on, kind of like at 3 o'clock in the morning in an old rented apartment in a shitty part of town. And you see all these roaches scattering. You're seeing more evil because the lights are on. And they're scattering like crazy. And they're being forced out of their shadows, So now's the time. It's whack-a-mole time. That's my brief. If you're picking up what I'm putting down.
Yeah.
It's whack-a-mole time. No holds barred. And you fight it with the light. So, all right. So here we go.
Did you check out what Vixen wrote?
No. Let me see. You read that one, Donnie.
I used to give to Catholic charities on the tribal reservations. No more. If they want that kind of money, hit up the Vatican. It could stop hunger and poverty in one fell swoop.
Oh God, yeah. If the only reason there's poor in America is because they want poor in America. It's really up to people. You watch. There's going to be some shaking and some moving. Remember the Waltons. Remember, it's time to talk to the elders, man. They've been sitting back, rocking in their chairs, smiling and keeping their knives sharp, just going, they're going to come to us one day, want to know how to do all this stuff. Go get the wisdom. Yeah. Learn, teach your grandkids how to grow tomatoes and do stuff like that and help each other and, buy local and support each other, trade. Get the ones you love close if you can, and maybe love the ones you wind up close to. I don't know, but just look back at what built this country, And it's really weird because when I was recording this, there was multiple commercials, and I know I mentioned it earlier, but it's important. This was done in 1980, I believe it was on TV, give or take, a decade. So the commercials on this thing were, they were popping. There was like Wrangler commercials, and there was some Sea Breeze. It's great to hear these old names. Free Dent, only sticks to some dental work. I don't know what that was about, but we joke about like the Doublemint twins and things like that. It wasn't that far back, but something I saw was this energy commercial, and it was put out by the state, commerce and everything, and it was saying that if we're not careful, if we keep outsourcing our factories and our all of our jobs and our energy and become dependent on other countries, there's a good chance that our energy costs could go through the roof, and it's better to depend on a country and our community and each other and our neighborhoods and each other than out in other countries that could just pull the rug out from under us. And they were really fighting for that then, and it was kind of crazy. That wasn't very long ago, and a lot of us were saw things coming. But what happens when things shake? You find out who you are, and you get together and you get closer with like-minded people, and you community, yeah, and you share information and you lift each other up, and you find out all the things that you can do that you never imagined you could do before. And you know how I know that that's true? Look at the past couple of years. Look at the businesses that are still going because they found a way. They looked outside the box, or they grouped together. Kids, older adults, young adults, families moved back in to help each other out, to help a business to keep going. I multiple people I know that have done this, and families grouping together, kids moving in. In some cases people weren't happy their kids moved back in, but in a lot of cases families came together and pulled each other through. And small businesses, I'm working for one right now that did that, never closed their doors for a minute. Multiple times sheriff came there because they were still in business. They were still open. You know what they were doing? Delivering funeral flowers. Never came in contact with anybody. The sheriff said, leave them alone. Kept going. So things like that. Look at the farmers and everything else. So support your local people. Think outside the box. If you know how to teach somebody, why not? Why not? It's like Laura said to me, and send a prayer out to Laura for healing too. She's not feeling too good. She's, migraines and things. I hate that. That's torture and hell. So send her healing, and anybody else out there that needs a hug or, a lift up and or a pull through. Okay, send it out, because that's what's going to get us through this mess. So, back to murdering Jeffrey. If you don't think he did it by now, I don't know what to say. I mean, Donnie, we talked many a time. We spent the whole first 2 episodes kind of debating. Not really, but, there's some evidence out there that deserves to be looked at that really has kept this whole thing alive. And it's all about that girl. And what was her name again?
Helena Stokely.
Can I flash the pictures up? Can
Sure,
you run through
please.
these guys real
Yes.
quick? Because, for those out there that don't know, this is the kind of stuff that starts to get fed into this trial. This is what the question, this is the reason, this is the doubt. I don't even want to say it's reasonable, but it's doubt. Right, Donnie, at this point?
I'm not sure if it's even doubt. It's just like there's more to the story than meets the eye.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. So
Yeah.
this girl, Helena Stokely, for those of you who don't know, she was the woman in the hat. She was born, her father was a retired colonel, and she was, she had a pretty comfortable, privileged life, but, and she was also a talented musician. She was actually learning and training, and she was the one that, that is the woman in white. That is her.
Yep.
And that is
Yep.
the woman
she-
who, yeah.
She had some friends too. Let me see if I can pull that up, the ones you sent me. Let me see. I think they're right here. So we need searching music.
So Helena is basically, she admitted it to several people in several interviews and investigations that she was in the house and her people did it. And yeah, she was on all these kinds of drugs, but
Are you getting that, Donnie? Can you see
yeah,
this?
that was
this
one of the
wonderful
4.
man?
This is I believe this was based off Jeffrey MacDonald's account of what he
Okay.
saw. And he drew one of the 4, and this was one of them. This was, he said, was an African-American gentleman wearing an army jacket. So he was, and that 3rd picture was her boyfriend, Helena's boyfriend, Greg Mitchell. And he is 3rd from the left right there. He was a veteran of, he's a Vietnam veteran. He had just come back, kind of fell in with the whole drug scene. A lot of veterans, I noticed, it seems like, in that area, the ones who just come back kind of fall into that life of drugs and
Absolutely.
hippies.
Absolutely.
And he was
And-
one of them.
this is the whole thing that's going on at the space at the time. These young guys are coming back all tore up, man.
Yeah.
And morphine if they were wounded, they're stuck on that, and opioids, all kinds of stuff. And yeah, and
So
MacDonald was actually working a little bit with them. Actually, we found out digging Donnie that he didn't have a very sporty job there on base, which is probably why he was volunteering outside and getting into other things. But he did help out a little bit with drugs, and she even brought up a point at one point and said they were mad at him because he would not give them methadone, right?
yeah.
That
It was like
brought up.
something like they were mad that he wouldn't treat their friends who were like
Yeah.
for heroin because
Yeah.
he wouldn't work on heroin according to them. They said he was only interested in you if
Right.
he could
And
work
I
on
know-
you on psychedelics.
Right. And somebody in the chat, I believe it was Glenn, possibly, maybe Ian. I could have that wrong, but I think way back in the first episode of this, they were talking about, deathbed confessions and memoirs and people that were saying that he knew he was quite possibly a target because he found out that they were shipping drugs in body bags in the wounded coming back from Vietnam. All of that is true.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure about if Jeffrey knew about it, but I can highly see that happening because it was all over the place. I heard about it and I was a kid. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the people that I hung around, the adults that I hung around that were kind of whispering stuff, and you pick it up, hey, Worldwide Ghost, welcome in. So, and Ted, hey, Ted, welcome in. So, if you got any questions, gatekeepers here, we're wrapping up though about this guy. We're trying to figure out if this psycho killed his whole family, and it's been an intense couple episodes, I'll tell you. But so anyway, this is the end. Go ahead, Donnie. And also, this is introducing, just so you know, Donnie, the introduction of the author, Joe McGinnis, who wrote the book, Fatal Vision, and also spawned this miniseries. And how also, not unlike Freddy, he goes from, he doesn't go from, I don't think Jeff did it. He was more like he has written about multiple murders, and Jeff hires him basically to be his constant companion and write a book. Thanks, Ted. I do. I feel much better. You see what I'm saying? He hires him, and he goes from, all right, okay, yeah, and then kind of gets creeped out because Jeff's all about money. You'll see it. But as he's going through, there's a breakdown there. Again, interesting to watch how you can see in the looks on his faces, and he's watching, the antics of this psycho. And he's like, I don't know. He could have done it. And so much so, he sues him, doesn't he, Donnie?
Yeah.
Jeff MacDonald sues
So
you.
he
Do you
had
want to tell him? Tell him about that.
So he had a civil lawsuit going on with the author of that book. The funny thing is, I didn't go too deeply into the details of the civil case, but what I do know is the outcome.
Go ahead.
And Jeffrey MacDonald won the case, but then they worked it out so that all the money that he received as a reward went straight to Freddie.
Yeah, and it was a big deal. I mean, McGinnis went on a lot of late night talk shows talking about it, and law, at the time, very respected law talk shows, like Hardline and things like that, where they were discussing what was his obligation to Jeffrey MacDonald. He said, well, he didn't hire me, and I never agreed to write a book that would prove he was innocent. I agreed to write a book about what he was going through and what this case and everything was about. So it was still kind of up in the air as far as legal stuff, and it certainly wasn't over here. It said that's still going on. It's a trip. It really is. Yeah. All right, here we go. This last bit here. So you're going to meet a little bit of how Joe McGinnis is. Welcome.
Hey there, Blues and G Music.
Hey, how you doing, hon?
I really like that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, welcome in. Hello. You're just in time to watch the bad guy get his comeuppance, so hang in there. You coming in? You're skiing in on the last bit of the wave, man. But go ahead and ride it with us. We enjoy it. And hey, Lucky, how you doing? Come on in. So here we go. This is the guy who writes the book and a little bit and the trial. Here we go.
Dr. Graham, admitting death, please. Dr. Graham.
Oh, Dr. MacDonald? Yes. I'm Joe McGinnis. Oh, right. How are you? Nice to meet you. Nice meeting you. Excuse me. How about some coffee? Great. You have to forgive me. I'm still in a state of shock. It's beyond my comprehension, anyone's comprehension, how the Supreme Court can now decide to put me through this after almost 10 years.
Yes, I certainly understand. That's why I'm so interested in the case.
It's Freddie Kassab, of course, my ex-father-in-law. He has finally got the trial he really wanted, and now I suppose the only thing left in his deranged mind is to see me get the chair so he can be there to pull the switch. Why don't we sit down?
Please call 125 West.
You sure you wouldn't like something to eat with that?
No, this is fine.
I hear you're quite an expert on triple homicides. Bernie, my lawyer, Bernie Siegel, told me that.
Oh, well, I did write about such a case some years back.
Most people don't seem to realize what I've been through. No, I don't mean the people at the hospital, the sisters and all. But this thing I live with is always there.
I guess it must be.
You ask a girl out to dinner, and it's there. How much does she know? What should I tell her? You go to a medical conference, and it's there. What are they thinking? You understand what I'm saying?
Of course.
I'm just damn tired of being on the defensive. I mean, this is obviously going to be a horrible ordeal to have to relive the whole thing all over again. And yet I'm grateful for one thing, and that's that I'll be proven innocent at last. I need a writer to go right through the trial with me, to be there every moment. Now, are you interested in doing my story?
Yes. I think it's a most unusual, really remarkable situation.
But you understand that I'll have to be cut in. I mean, for some of the take.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Long Beach Police Officers Association and all the friends of Jeff MacDonald are here this evening to give him our warm support. Included in your $100 tickets is a chance at the giant raffle. And we especially want to thank those individuals who put up $500 apiece to sit at the Golden Guest of Honor table with Dr. MacDonald.
Driving a bus isn't the easiest thing in the world. Fill it with 30 active kids, and you've got to work to...
Anything like war, Heidi?
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. Please have a seat.
I gotta say, I love this guy.
You folks
Donny.
just get into town today?
Yes, this morning.
Well, I sure hope you like it here in Raleigh. We think it's a mighty fine place to live.
It's a lovely place.
I just want you folks to know I'm going to do my very best for you.
Sitcom.
We appreciate that.
Movie.
How does this case look to you? I mean, compared to the other cases you've tried?
The others? Oh. Well, truth be told, Mr. Kasai, this is the very first murder case I've ever prosecuted.
You know, Mr. Blackburn was right. Raleigh is a lovely place to live.
You know what I was thinking this morning? I was thinking back to the time we first knew Jeff. How he used to come over and mow our lawn in the summer.
Yes, I remember very well.
He used to shovel the snow off the driveway in the winter.
They were just a couple of school kids. Just a couple of young kids dating.
I used to drive him to the movies.
I know. I know.
What the devil happened, do you think?
Okay, Jeff, I think we've seen enough, huh?
How long's the trial been going on?
I don't know.
Members of the jury, I must caution you again that during your inspection of the scene of the crime, there is no conversation of any kind. Your comments should be reserved for your deliberations at the end of the trial. Okay, you have 20 minutes.
Why is that buff guy so smooth?
Say that again, Donnie.
I was like, why is that bus guy so smooth? Did you hear the way he explained it? I was like, man, I want to hear this guy narrate like every book now.
Oh yeah, like the Scott
That guy
Brick.
was a stud.
The
Did you see
Scott
him?
Brick
He
of
had so much suave.
of jury, yeah. Of
The jury
field,
wrangler.
jury field trips, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'll tell you what, it's horrific to ever have to do this. I remember they did this OJ trial. It was a huge deal, but oh my God, this crime scene, to the crime scene, Sasha Bell. It's not unusual. Again, I remember when they brought, the jury through the OJ trial, and they, staged the house and everything. They took down pictures and traded out pictures to show different character of, OJ. I mean, it's just a debacle. And they usually are. This thing has been locked up. This is on, for those who don't know, on Fort Bragg. It stayed locked, boarded up, literally, did it not, Donnie, for decades. Until it was finally sold and knocked down, as I understand, and turned into some kind of condo apartment complexy kind of thing. Am I wrong, Donnie?
I think that's what Dylan told us.
Yeah. So, this is the jury going through this scene. Horrific to have to do this. And again, they're not allowed to speak and, come to their own conclusions and stuff like that. It's just awful. It's got to be haunting.
That is the least happiest tour I have ever seen. That sucks.
I gotta say, it's extremely macabre, and to notice that for everybody out there that knows about, even just a little bit about the Priscilla Axe murder house, the you can name them off all day long, Black Dahlia, the Jack the Ripper, any of these things, H.H. Holmes, Lizzie Borden, all of these different murders. The crime scenes are continuously trampled on by not just first responders, however far back you want to, whatever they were called, as far back as you want to go, but onlookers. We just did a ghost story, did we not, about the headless ghost in the well at Bobby Mackey's. We did the whole story and backstory on Pearl and how she's found in the ditch with no head. And before the blood is completely dried on the leaves in the ditch around her, tables are set up and they're selling those leaves to onlookers because they got there first and collected them up, and now they're making money on this poor girl who's barely cold. True. And it's amazing how it's not changed much. I know that, going through as a jury is done respectfully, and these people are being respectful. There's no doubt about that. How they handle themselves afterwards and what they're feeling is, of course, up for anybody's guess. But I just think it's not much has changed. I mean, this crime scene was trampled on and handled badly, and that was in the 70s, and I don't know that we're that much better today.
We have better. It's come a ways. I mean, we got like DNA and stuff now, and carbon dating, and
this is true. I mean, that's definitely advanced. There's no doubt about that. But I mean, people. I mean, think about it. Driving down the highway, you can't stop and slow down. And, what do they call it? Rubbernecking or whatever. I mean, it's like you can't look away, become desensitized. But, it's crazy. I mean, we might have gone from bloody leaves in a ditch, in the late 1800s to serial killer playing cards now. I mean, honestly, there's a difference, but there's a similarity there too, I believe. Do you see what I'm saying? Somewhere along the lines, there's a connection there, So even if it's done more at a distance now, but anyway,
is this common practice, by the way?
Say again.
Is this common practice to bring the jury to like a murder scene?
In some cases, yes. Blue, do you want to answer that?
So I never heard of them doing this before.
Oh yeah, it's been done. Yeah, multiple times. Yeah, it's not. I don't know if it's common. Summons. You want to read that, Donnie? You can see it better than I can.
I once got a summons for jury duty. Blue Crossroads did. So I showed up in my Class A uniform. It was quickly sent home. I was quickly sent home. I mean, that's the way to do it.
Yeah. That can be. That can be a pain in the neck.
You know what I would do if I got summoned for jury duty? I'd pretend to not be able to speak English.
Yeah, and jury duty is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
I have a lot of Chinese and Korean friends who did that in the works.
Not to quote that creep, but all right, here we go. I find it off-putting, just so in case you didn't know.
What?
The whole jury walking through the crime scene and looking at all the, this is a woman. Again, I've seen the crime scene photos. I accidentally stumbled on
What if
them,
you were
and
in that
it's
jury and you had to
horrid.
do that, Cisco?
Jeez, man, you do it. You soldier up and you do it, and you do it with as much reverence and respect as you can, and not just so you can get through it the right way, because I believe you'd have to talk yourself into having to perform a duty That's how I would do it. You know, I'd be able to do it, but I'd have to go in, or I'd have to pull my shadow person out for that one. You know, but it would be horrific. And I never forget, like I said, I just stumbled across the crime scene photos of these poor people. I have avoided it up to this point. I was really careful and I didn't dig too, you know what, I just didn't want to, because I have this photographic memory, I'll never forget it. But it's too late now. I was going in there to get more evidence I wanted to be sure of the evidence that was allowed in the criminal case, and any evidence that may have changed or set forth an appeal rolling, or used during a parole hearing or something along those lines, or opened up any more legal investigation in the case. Any solid evidence. The DNA came up in the 90s. No, the DNA all matched what they were saying earlier. There wasn't anything big that flipped everything else and threw everything else out. Did you find anything, Donnie, as you were digging through? Or anybody other than people said things until they died? Because they did. They absolutely did.
Okay, can I start? Can I bring up Greg Mitchell? Is it okay to?
And who is that?
Helena's boyfriend.
Go right ahead.
Okay. Here's the thing about Greg Mitchell. He died in 1982. I don't know when they broke up, but throughout the course of his life, he would keep telling his friends and his family members about how he was there that night and that he was responsible for the death of those kids and that woman. And he felt so much remorse, and he'd get very drunk and then just cry about it all night, in private. This is not any investigation. There was an account from this one North Carolina couple that had hired him to do electricity work. And then one day he just shows up to work completely drunk and just in tears, and he's just talking about, oh my God, I killed these kids, I'm responsible. So, and he basically, he kept admitting it till the day he died. He actually, when he flipped out in front of that North Carolina couple, they said that he actually tried to grab a phone and call Helena Stokely, this guy
it's crazy. The only thing I can say, the only thing my mind clicks, and not to stop you, is just that I have to listen to that and I have to say, there's so many reasons that could be happening, whether it's misplaced, the drugs, the constant hounding by the defense team, Jeffrey's defense team, and the police, and the Army for that matter. They got it from all sides all the time. And I have to go back to, admittedly, if they were near it or had anything to do with it, they were all on massive amounts of acid, heroin. She did heroin how many times a day?
8 or 9.
Okay. So, we definite pattern there. Okay.
But for both of them to be that way, though?
Pot and alcohol. And supposedly that's what I've heard. Supposedly they were all on it from her mouth. So it's hard to say, I believe this because she said it. Mm-hmm. And I believe this because she said it. Because she said both with the same, I was there, I wasn't there. I was there, I was there, I wasn't there. So I have to go back to, I can't believe anything she says, and I have to go with the evidence. And that's what my mind does.
So the thing about Greg Mitchell is that the information about him admitting to people didn't come out until after he died. He was in no way, shape, or form involved in any of the trial stuff or the hearings. He was just off doing his own thing, right?
Yeah.
But then afterwards, after the trial, then people came out and they used that information and gave it to MacDonald's defense team, and they would use that information to actually try to start appeals.
Right. And,
Um,
Glenn's correct here. People confess the things they didn't do. Maybe he killed some other kids and he's confused. I mean, I don't know. The thing is the thing I believe that Helena said, and I could be off on this, it's not verbatim, but she's sitting there talking to the defense team. They finally talk her into court, and you saw it, how she was. And I believe you're going to see a clip here in a minute of how she was. And I mean, she's dropping things as she's going down the hall. She's, and then she'll look and she'll get this snap of clarity in her face and in her eyes. And she's looking at the defense attorney. And she did this in real life. It's not just in this show I'm basing this on. This is multiple times in real life. And she'd say, all right, if that's what you want me to do, you want me to go up there and you want me to testify, I'll just get up there and they'll know who I am, that she was an informant, police informant for that guy named Prince Albert or whatever his name was. Do you have that, Donnie? The cop that she was an informant to,
Prince
FBI
Beasley.
agent.
Detective Prince Beasley was his name.
Prince Beasley. Yeah. So, admitted that she was an informant. We don't know what went on between them, but he did stick up for her and said she was very reliable snitch, is what he said, basically.
She actually had a job at this time, which is something I learned recently. She was actually working out of like a pizzeria, but the pizzeria was basically a front for just drugs.
For drugs.
So it was like a dinky looking
and it's
like
not,
job, but she was making money,
And it's not to say that people that do drugs can't tell the truth. But which do you choose to believe? Because she said both, and sometimes in the same sentence. Multiple times. And like I said, the thing that I believe the most that she ever said was when she told the defense team, I'll go up there and I'll just answer the questions. The judge isn't going to believe me anyway. The jury's going to throw it out because I'm a liar and I was drunk and I'm a junkie and an addict and I don't know where I was. And, they'd show her pictures and then constantly beat stuff into her brain in these interrogations and then come in with the recording and everything after the fact, and she would recognize one of the pictures and they say, she was there. They did all kinds of shit like this.
But you also have to consider that she also had a lot of reason to say that she wasn't there, because while she was admitting it, she was also realizing, man, I could get in trouble for this or my friends could get in trouble. And then I've just been threatened by the prosecutor because, Bernard Siegel, the main reason why he got her to agree to testify was
and it's hearsay, and it's not.
He said that, no, statute of limitations, you'll be safe. You won't get prosecuted. And then the prosecutor comes up to her and he's like, no, that's not true. We're prosecuting you.
And again,
so
it's like I said, I've had people tell me that they were scared for you, Donnie, because last episode I got a little crazy and I kept saying, "Show me the evidence, show me the evidence." I'm not yelling at Donnie. Donnie and I talk about this stuff all the time. Donnie's fine, Hey, Peter, hi, honey. Good to see you, babe. Welcome. Just in time. We're almost done. Hang in there. You can make it through to the end with us, but we're just battling back and forth because we can't wrap our minds around how this case is still alive after 50 years, right, Donnie? Yeah. So we're trying to play both sides off each other. He's
I don't think of it as one side versus the other because
no, it's not even.
It's
just the evidence versus distraction, propaganda, narrative, and the guy who does the. What did I say? Waterfall of evidence or whatever that was. What was it? That FX. Wilderness of Doubt. The FX special. Anyway, you'll find it if you look it up. You'll be able to. It's free. It's very well done, but he's leaning more towards this whole thing with all these people and the kid confessing and everything else. And again, he doesn't come up with any evidence from the crime scene, the actual crime scene, that supports this evidence, this hearsay, basically, as Blue is so well stated. Thank you, Blue. It's absolute hearsay. And, should have been thrown out 6 ways to Sunday in the courtroom. In fact, in a lot of ways it was. So that's what we're saying. So let's continue on, Donnie. We're almost taken out of here.
Okay.
I'm gonna make it back by 4. I want to hit the track and the barbells before dinner.
See, he's starting to turn on her, Jeff. That's the right one.
Keep your chin up.
That so-called government expert today, what is his name, Stombaugh? Some expert. And all that garbage about matching footprints? What did he think he was proving? What a bunch of crap he's trying to sell. It could have been anybody's footprint. Thank God Bernie destroyed him later on.
His testimony on the pajama top, though, he seemed to be making some points.
Points? The judge had any guts at all. He'd throw this case out of court.
I take it you're not too fond of the judge.
God save us from Southern Republicans. And the Army, and the FBI, and most of all the Unbelievable.
That's the shot right there.
Now, Mr. Stombaugh, the government's expert, has stated that it's his conclusion the holes placed in Jeffrey MacDonald's pajama tops were made while the garment was stationary. And do you agree with that?
No, I don't believe it's true. I conducted experiments in which holes from ice pick punctures were circular in appearance despite the fact that the target was in motion.
Dr. Thornton, I would ask you if this is a reasonable facsimile of the pajama top you used in any of your experiments.
Reasonable, yes.
My question, sir, if you use this pajama top as a shield, as someone is trying to kill you with an ice pick, is it your opinion that the pajama could be used that way and still not sustain torn areas?
I don't know.
If I could, I would like to stand in front of you and placing great trust in Mr. Blackburn, I'm going to ask him to flail away at me with an ice pick.
That was not part of the act, Your Honor. Anybody got a Band-Aid?
No, that's okay. That's okay. Now, Dr. Thornton, I would ask you to examine that pajama top and tell us what you see.
I see a number of tears, and they do appear to be, in fact, tears.
Mr. Murtaugh, do you need a doctor?
No, thank you.
Here she comes, Donnie. Here she comes.
Oh, Miss Stokely, won't you come in, please? No. Thank you. Thank you. Please sit down, Miss Stokely. We have some coffee and some donuts here, if you'd like.
No, thank you. May I have a diet soda?
Absolutely. Miss Stokely, you know, of course, that there were 4 so-called hippies at the MacDonald house the night of the murders. And you were questioned about your presence there. I just want you to know that whatever you say today... Miss Stokely? Miss Stokely, I just want you to know that whatever you say today will not put you in any difficulty whatsoever. Now, this picture, this is the kitchen of the MacDonald house. You see the calendar on the wall over there? Right there? Well, that's been there now for 9 years. It's waiting, just waiting for someone to tell us how to end the story. Helena?
I can't help you. I wasn't in that house. I don't have anything to do with this.
Believe me, Helena, if you just talk to me, tell me what happened, I can make this very short and very painless for you. I mean, for the sake of your own conscience. For the sake of that man in the courtroom, Helena, that man who has been made to suffer unjustly now for 9 years.
I can't say things that I don't remember.
I have 6 witnesses. Now, you told them that you were there.
You know how many drugs I've been on? I'm not going to sit here and say things that I don't remember. Besides, how do you know he isn't guilty?
That was his flesh and blood, Helena. Now, what kind of father would do that to his own flesh and blood,
Only somebody crazy or whacked out on drugs. Not acid. Maybe speed. Was he tested for drugs?
Yes, Helena.
I don't know what anybody else is capable of, but I know I'm not capable of that.
Helena, no one is asking you to say that you did it. All you have to say is you were there, holding the candle, saying acid is groovy. You don't remember hurting anybody. Then you ran out the back door.
I wasn't there. I don't know what you're talking about. I wasn't there!
Gentlemen of the jury, I suggest that the evidence will show that there was, in fact, a life and death struggle in that house that night. And at least 2 people were involved in it. Colette MacDonald and her husband, Jeff MacDonald. Now, we know from the evidence that Colette fought hard, mighty hard before she died. You don't get both your arms broken standing there waiting to be killed. You just don't do it. Now, the defendant's theory of defense in this case has been sort of like this. I tell you a story, and you are to trust me. I'm telling the truth. I love my family. I love Colette. I love Kimberly and Kristen. Trust me, I couldn't have done this. I suggest to you that when you compare his story versus the government story, then you got to come down on one side or the other. Because the evidence in this case, if it shows nothing else, it shows that what the physical evidence says and what he says are not reconcilable. They're completely opposed. Do you recall we asked the defendant a number of questions? We asked if the jury found this or that. Did he have an explanation? Think about it for a moment. If you were on trial for your life, don't you think if you could explain it, you would? I would. I suggest that the defendant, perhaps in a frenzy, maybe to fend off his wife, in one tragic, brief moment, so brief, lost control, and he came back with that club. As he did, he struck Kimberly, and he struck his wife. You know the words. Jeff, why are they doing this to me? Just think how close that is. To Jeff, why are you doing this to me? Ladies and gentlemen, if in the future, after this case is over, if you should think back on it again, I ask you to think back and remember Colette, Kimberly, and Kristen. They've been dead almost 10 years. 10 years that you've had, that I've had, and that the defendant has had, that they haven't. If in the future you should cry a tear, cry one for them. If in the future you should say a prayer, say one for them.
When the government says, why doesn't MacDonald explain these things? The answer is that Jeff MacDonald is not responsible to answer any of these things. Their case is built upon assumptions that have no basis in reality whatsoever. This whole incredible fantasy that they call a case, it ought to make every one of us here angry that 9.5 years after the fact, that is exactly what is being called a case. It is just beyond belief.
Who knows?
That's right.
Well, we could wait another hour, or we could wait another week.
Or 2. Great.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Get rid
okay, I
of
will.
this shit.
Did you get those reservations for me at the work?
You and Miss Amato, it's all set. Plus dinner reservations at La Scala.
Jeffrey, I think we should have a little talk about how to handle the press after the acquittal. Maybe you should leave Raleigh immediately on the chartered plane.
Whatever you think. I just found out they're going to give me a victory celebration when I get back to California. Might even rent the Queen Mary.
I don't believe it. The jury's only been out for 42 minutes. Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. Hey, Jeff, here's that present from your friends at the Long Beach Police Department.
Guys.
Go ahead, open it up. How do you like that, huh? Cops love them. Love them. Well, put it on.
You really think he needs a bulletproof vest?
You bet. There's someone out there who isn't going to like a not guilty verdict.
Uh-huh.
Now it's over 6 hours.
That's hardly any time at all. This could go on and on.
They want us downstairs. They've reached a verdict.
Members of the jury, have you agreed upon the verdict in this case?
Yes, sir, we have.
I am handed an envelope with a verdict form in it. Is this your verdict?
Yes, sir.
Madam Clerk, you may take the verdict.
Would the jurors please stand? Members of the jury, have you agreed upon a verdict?
We have.
How do you find as to count 1? In the murder of Colette MacDonald, is the defendant, Jeffrey R. MacDonald, guilty or not guilty of murder in the first degree?
Not guilty.
Guilty or not guilty of murder in the second degree?
Guilty.
How do you find as to the count 2? In the murder of Kimberly MacDonald, is the defendant, Jeffrey R. MacDonald, guilty or not guilty of murder in the first degree?
Not guilty.
Guilty or not guilty of murder in the second degree?
Guilty.
As to the count 3, in the murder of Kristen MacDonald, guilty or not guilty of murder in the first degree?
Guilty.
Be seated, please.
Your Honor, may the members of the jury be polled individually upon their verdict.
Mr. Foreman, what is your verdict?
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Hello?
I had a collect call for anyone from Mr. MacDonald. Will you accept it?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Freddie.
Hi, Jeff.
How are you?
Not too bad. How's everything going?
All right. Trying to forget some things and work
Right.
and, you know.
Yeah. Jeff?
Yeah.
You got the transcript?
Yeah, I just got it today.
I think I'm going to come down.
Oh, that's silly to come down. I'll mail it up.
No, I want
Yeah,
I
don't trust it in the
Jeff.
mail.
All right.
Meanwhile, we can visit a little bit.
Wait, was that the actual audio or was that from the
Yes.
movie? Oh, that was the
Actual audio.
Oh.
Actual audio. That's Freddie talking to
Yeah,
Jeff.
he really sounded like his actor. I
Mhm.
couldn't tell the difference. I thought that was the actor.
Incredible.
Yeah, it sounded just like him.
So many tapes I've been through on that, you know, and I'm listening, and that's why I got a hold of Donnie, and we were kicking around ideas. I said, man, we gotta. Have you ever heard of this case? And my motivation was, I don't understand how people could be looking at real facts that affect them today and allow known liars to lie to them, and they're willing to accept it. I've got people in my family.
Which liars?
Like MSM, any of, like, you know, the mainstream media or whatever, using
okay,
propaganda,
yeah.
which has been used how far back? You know, propaganda, Donnie. You can go back to the Romans used propaganda. I'm sure they did.
Goes back as far as like humanity.
Yeah.
Sumerians would have propaganda on their palace walls.
And I don't know if it's because it's easier to believe the lie and just go, oh, okay. Because, again, when dealing with people like this, I've seen, you know, members of their family just looking right at it going, no, you know, this is no. And he says this, and and aliens abducted him and stole his wallet and blah blah blah. And what? I'm like, what? You know, but people tend to believe stuff because it's easier, and but just remember too that some very smart people have said some very smart things, and in hindsight, and they weren't perfect, but they said some perfect things for an imperfect time. And like Thomas Jefferson warning us against foreign interference, take care of home first. Of course it makes common sense, all of common sense. The words ring true now, but psychopaths talk like this. You saw Jeffrey, you saw this young man, it's Gary Cole, do a great acting portrayal of it. But if you don't believe me, you don't believe Donnie, just YouTube, Google some of the stuff, because like I said, I can't play everything here, and see if you don't see something in those eyes. This man was able to walk into the house after doing this. There's nothing, again, evidence-wise, pure evidence, never disputed, very much like early JFK, Evidence was coming out. Books were being written as early as 67. Most good books on the JFK had came out after first print with facts about what the Secret Service were doing that night. Do you know what the Secret Service were doing that night? They went out drinking. They wound up their last trip was undisputed, by the way, and never punished for it. Went and drank all night long. Went to an underground place called the Cellar, where the waitresses wear pasties and very little else. And if you asked, you'd wind up getting something. They didn't have a liquor license. They had moonshine. And they were served moonshine. Lots of things went down. Some of them lost their IDs. A couple of them lost their guns. But was it an accident? Was it on purpose? Was it a setup? Who knows? But people will tell you and lie to you after you see facts and tell you something else happened. If they say it enough, who was it, Stalin, that said if you repeat it a lie enough times, people will believe it? So this is something that triggered that in me, because I'm listening to podcasts that are making up facts out of whole cloth. Not all of them, I'm just saying little pieces. They might not even realize they're doing it, but they're repeating it because they saw it or read it in a thing, or, you have to be careful. The evidence here. So what do you guys think? Where are you sitting, Donnie? This is it, the final verdict.
Can I give you my personal
go ahead, and we're
theory?
waiting on it. I know you got
because
one.
I never gave
and
my
then we
own
gotta
opinion.
go, because we've
Okay.
kept everybody like 3 hours here, and I'm so sorry, but
Now, my theory is going to be a little bit ridiculous, so bear with me, folks. So I believe that Jeffrey MacDonald was the one who killed his family. He acted alone, and it was by his hands that they died. And those other 4 people were never in the room. Okay. That being said, those other 4 people had something to do with it. They were never in the room. I'm not saying they were ever in the room, but when he said that he saw their faces, I believe he actually saw their faces. What I believe is for me, the thing is the combination of the 2 drugs. What they were using was heroin and either mescaline or acid. I know for a fact that those 2 types of drugs are freaking rocket fuel for psychic abilities, like rocket fuel. And they're involved in witchcraft. And I also think that those 3 gentlemen were either former military or current military. And she was in another building with the other team, and they were doing their combination of drugs with the right chanting and the occult practices and whatever knowledge of witchcraft or whatever psychic abilities they're using is to make, and they connected with Jeff. That's why he saw them. And that connection, on top of his already being, a narcissistic psychopath, and the fact that he's on amphetamines, caused him to snap and flip out.
almost like an individual targeting kind of thing.
And there are a couple things about Helena Stokely's life that makes me suspect that she might have been a psychic. Number 1, she was musically gifted. And number 2, if you look at that dynamic with her and those 3 guys, and she was dating one of them, but it seemed like she was the boss of them. And these are 4 military dudes. I feel like they were kind of revering her because they're all part of the same cult. And they're all not cult, but coven, right? She said she practiced witchcraft. So I think
dude, it's all possible. All things are possible.
I think the reason why, and so when they were doing the ceremony, and they're doing heroin and acid and doing the ceremony and connecting with him, I believe that caused them to also perceive the actual murder, and that's why they lived with the guilt. That's why her boyfriend went insane, because he was like, oh my God, I caused him to do it. He never said he was in there.
Yeah. I mean, and that would explain why there was nothing no evidence of them in the place.
Yeah,
but
because they were never
if
in
you-
the building.
But even just like everything else, just like the flower pot, the stolen wallet, the obvious mess up of the inside, and the mishandling of the crime scene, even if we take all that out, like we said in the beginning, what are we left with? A solid evidence that's undisputed is the blood, is the victims talking to us, telling us this is what happened to us. There are threads. It's like it's Freddie walking through the crime scene. Very much like the jury, but unlike the jury, this is a man who has studied this thing inside and out. And he's trying to hit timelines and phone calls and, everything that Jeff has said that he's done, and he can't make it fit. And that's what the prosecution is saying. If the jury comes to the conclusion that, you have no you can't explain how the ice pick holes only line up on the blouse after the fact, doesn't fit his narrative. I can't speak on Donnie's idea. I can't rule anything out. There were obviously multiple murders on this base, which we can look into in the future. 44 or more from what I hear. That's a lot. All of this could be tied in. Again, absolutely could be connected to this case and multiple other cases. However, in this case, I believe, you may disagree, that you have to go down to the evidence. Who put their hands on those children? Who killed these children, brutalized these children and a pregnant mother? Irregardless of whether she was going out on him, whose kid was who, how many people he slept with, what kind of boat he bought. That moment, who put their hands on these people and killed them brutally and left them there? Everything else that happened
Jeffrey
after.
MacDonald did.
Yeah, is
Yeah.
an absolute atrocity
It was Jeffrey MacDonald.
and a circus. And yes, I believe so. And
I believe Jeffrey MacDonald's evilness is what allowed for them to be able to cause him to snap.
it's possible as well too. There's always so many layers and depths to this. But again, if you look at that one gentleman who ran the lab, the one that did the shirt and the shirt and the also the blood evidence and walked through that and gave that whole speech. That man right there, I mean, there was zero doubt in this man's mind. Just as much as anybody else who looks at, like the people who would look at JFK and say there's no way that, the I hate to be graphic, but that the brain weighed a certain amount, almost larger than an average human brain, when we know much of it was left back in the Lincoln. It just doesn't, it shouldn't compute. And you should be aware of these things and sharpen yourself to see that this is the blatant lies, so you can deflect them better, And I think everybody here sees this. Everybody here sees it. But it's just another kind of exercise in, how are all these people getting away with just making up stuff? Like I heard one where they said that one of Jeffrey's stories said that he stated he woke up at one point and saw two people standing over Nicole while she slept. Where's that at? Where'd that come from? You see what I mean? Just weird stuff just thrown in there, Let's go back to the hard evidence that you know to be true, at least to the best of our knowledge, and go from there,
And I know my theory sounds very wooey, but it's the only theory I can think of that actually fits all scenarios.
Everything.
It fits everything. It's the only thing that fits everything that I can think of.
It's like missing 411.
Yeah.
It's very hard to find one thing that fits it all.
Yeah.
But, again, and that proves my point as well. Donnie just did it beautifully. If you can't do that, you can add all this stuff. But what are you left with if you take it all away? The hearsay, the possibilities, like, that one guy said it doesn't matter how many times he slept around. It does, but it doesn't. You got to prove he put him in the room. We put him in the room. We put his threads, like Freddie said. How did the threads from the pajama top get there, unless it happened when he was kneeling down to write pig in his wife's blood? Also with pieces of the glove.
What kind of bothers me about that theory, though, is that I think another reason why she was so close with those 4 guys, because they were former military. And who was her dad? A retired colonel.
Retired colonel, yeah.
And I think he was pulling strings for her friends.
There definitely, there definitely could be a lot of extra stuff. And I don't doubt that for a minute, especially with all those murders on base. There's definitely more there. There's definitely a lot more meat on the bone. But, when you bring it down to, here we are again 50 years away, he's still there saying, of course he's saying he didn't do it, but there's actual things being brought up to try to get him back out. And I'm sitting there thinking, after Freddie and, this whole thing and these poor kids, you got to go back to the kids. This little girl saw who killed her. She fought off, she had defensive wounds. That has to speak for something. And it has to echo longer than 10 years and 50 years or 100 years, like we talk about with ghost cases. We look back at cases 100, 150, 200 years ago, and it still matters. And what matters is not how many times we hear about things so we get desensitized to it. It comes down to, what if it was somebody you loved? What if it was you? It goes back to what they said. A pregnant woman and her 2 little girls. Brutally killed. That has to stand first and foremost right out there. Now prove one way or another who did this. Not bend the evidence to prove this person did it. Look at the evidence, and what does the evidence tell you? The blood evidence tells us, I believe, that Jeffrey MacDonald did this. And I think nothing else matters after that.
I think he did it too.
That's my take.
Yeah.
That's my take. Now, next weekend, we're going to try to get some people in here. We're going to see how this all works out. I don't want to promise. If not, we'll come up with something else, won't we, Donnie?
It looks like a lot of people like my theory, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, is you can't really throw anything out because we really don't know. All of this is just theory based on evidence, And you never know how a case is going to go or whatever, but I thought it was a really good lesson also in, discernment. And, sometimes, words like conspiracy theories and stuff like that will steer you away. And even more so now, we got to fight for the truth. And what is the bare truth, and then go from there. Not innuendo or he thought or opinion or my opinion. Don't believe me. Research for yourself. And if you're interested in this, because it's the same playbook. It fits in so many different things, doesn't it, Donnie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to answer Blue Crossroads, they actually, what happened was, like, not too long after the murders, Helena got checked into a rehab. I think it was like some kind of treatment program. And she had a psychologist who was like her caseworker, and they documented like all the different drugs that she was on.
Yeah.
And basically what it was like 8 or 9 times a day she would take heroin, and then the rest of the day she would either be on mescaline or acid.
Right. And also, absolutely, I think that these were people that he was familiar with, able to pull up IDs on them, random drug people that came in looking for help with methadone and stuff like that. But again, I don't know too many that would go in. That's why I left that part about how he had the closet door with all the supplies in it, with the drugs and everything, and druggies walking by.
That explains why the drugs were never stolen.
Yeah, left her purse, left all the drugs, left all the stuff. It just doesn't make it. And left no evidence whatsoever, like we said before.
Because they were never in the building.
It's like they were criminal masterminds. Yeah, it's almost like they were never there.
They were never there.
And it's just, and nothing has changed that. Not, the doll hair that caused a lot of controversy, and then, Freddie and Mildred comes up and said, well, we gave her a doll like that at Christmas. That dog you see by her bed, they gave that to her for Christmas. All the fancy stuff came from them, the grandparents. And yeah, she could have been trading sex for men. She could have been doing all that. But again, it doesn't, like Jeffrey screwing
The
everything
thing
that
is,
moved,
this story to
doesn't
me,
change the case, right?
it kind of feels like she was the boss of the group, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
And they
about
could have
that.
been the ones going around and killed 43 of these other families. Absolutely could have been.
And they could have done it from the comfort of their living room.
Well, that or in person. I don't know anything about those cases. They could have gone right in there and they got videotape of it. I don't know. I don't know anything about those cases.
Oh, another
This
fun
case,
fact.
He did this.
Another fun fact about Helena Stokely was that she was diagnosed with schizoid personality disorder.
This
or
is no
schizoid
witness whatsoever.
Yeah, schizoid. I don't know the difference between schizoid personality and schizophrenia. Apparently, there's a difference.
She
But,
had a lot of things. I mean,
yeah.
anybody that dies of cirrhosis of the liver at 30 is abusing something.
damn,
So,
that is next
there's that.
level. That's like
That's
your.
next level.
That's like your like
Yeah, it's
blowing your
something.
system out.
Well, there we go. We're finishing this up. If we can add on that, add on the little paranormal surprise thing at the end
Yeah.
to do this. But I'd like to ask everybody here, as you've all hung in there, just as, you don't have to choose if you don't want to, but I'd love to take a thing because we did it at the beginning. One, he's guilty. 2, innocent. 3, you still don't know. What do you think? The liver, pretty tough though. Yeah, but at 30, it says something.
She was using
Cirrhosis-
special chemicals for that.
Yes,
yeah.
cirrhosis of the liver usually gets somebody that's been an alcoholic, to die of that at 30 is, oh, wow. Wow, that went fast. We had it inundated. Looks
Yeah.
like the one, look, yeah. I'm amazed she lived as long as she did. Yeah, me too, Blue.
Yeah, I'm amazed she's in an OD.
Yep. All ones right across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if anybody changed watching this. And it wasn't my intention to change your mind. My intention was to get you to use your mind and to think, does this change stuff? And then put that in your regular life if you're not doing it already. Does this change, the facts that I know? Because I think we're getting inundated with a lot of propaganda and things like that from all directions. Agree or disagree, it's not healthy. And sometimes we just have to stop and regroup and train our mind to stop and regroup. Okay, go back to the base of what you know, and then go from there and ask if any of this other stuff even matters with your square foot of real estate and what you got to handle. And maybe that helps put it in perspective, because again, and I think I'd like to thank again, it's Joe McGinnis is the writer of Fatal Vision. Linda's going to finish that up. She says she's up to the testimonies, and she's been giving us her knowledge throughout here, and I look forward to hearing from her. So next week, Donnie, if we can do that, we're going to pull it off. If not, we'll pull something out of our whatever.
Yeah, I'm here for whatever you're down for.
And I
Let's go.
appreciate you going
Whatever
this
you
ride
need.
with me. You're
Yeah.
the lone guy hanging out, and I hope we do. I mean, it would be great to get a fresh pair of eyes on this, but for me, it was kind of a done deal in the beginning. I didn't have anything that really came off and knocked me off my boat there. So, also tomorrow night, Monday Madness, I'm really working on something that it just makes me just giggle thinking of how Steve is going to love it. I think you guys are going to love it. It's different, and I think it's a treat. It's like it's just a kind of a giggle at our history, but in a cool, different way. And a bit of nostalgia, a bit of wow, I didn't know that, and just a little treat I found that first I thought of Steve, and I was like, oh my God, if Steve's gonna like it, you guys are gonna like it too. And it's a bit of an escape from all this dark and dirty stuff. But thank you so much for being there for the dark and dirty with me, Donnie.
Yeah, it was fun.
And are you appearing anywhere this week, or are you doing any? one-man shows anywhere, or?
Well, I'm appearing at the local veterinary hospital for Toby's checkup tomorrow.
Oh
and
my
then
goodness! For
I might
Toby,
appear
well,
at
we
the
wish
gas
Toby
station to
well.
pick up a pack of cigarettes and a hot dog, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's about it, right? Now, is this hot dogs? Are you getting the hot dogs that are in the like the quick check or whatever? They sit on the rollers all day.
No, I think I'm going to swing by McDonald's, just down the street.
McDonald's has hot dogs.
No, I was going to get chicken nuggets. I changed my mind. I
Sandwiches.
skipped dinner today, so I'm kind of
Oh
hungry.
my goodness.
Yeah.
Sandwiches at 3 o'clock in the morning, 30 degrees below zero. All right, everybody, good night. And thank you so much for being on this crazy wild ride with us.
It was fun.
And I'm always excited to be here. This is our excited cat. We love you, love you, love you. Love all the gatekeepers. Thank you to the wonderful mods out there. If you can, drop my PayPal. The T Public has got, I think they're still running the sale, but if not, pick something you like. Wait 2 weeks. There's going to be another sale. Save you a little money. Get somebody a love a mug or a crispy pillow or something with the gatekeepers on it. I've got the thermal mug, the mug, and all kinds of the bags. The canvas bags are great, and you can use them now because they're not giving you bags. Because here's something else. Just a little extra, with the bags. It's like when they got us to check out by ourselves. Every time I sit there and I'm checking out myself, I'm like, should I not get extra? I don't work here, Get extra. Get a little extra off. Why not? To save $1. Would it kill them? Because we don't work there. How'd they do that? And it killed a bunch of people's jobs, too. Think about it. It's one of those things we've been talking about, right, Donnie?
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, I love you. Listen, keep your feet under the covers. Keep your closet door shut. Because there are things that go bump in the night. And some of them, the real monsters, sometimes are humans. Don't forget that. Keep your eye up. Love you all.
Bye.
Take care.